I had to move your sandwich to see what kind of sandwich it was. I thought it was PB&J, but I wanted to confirm.
Yeah, I forgot to eat until just now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's no good. I ate a whole pizza by myself at Reginelli's and read the Franklin cover-up.
Dude, I love Reginelli's. It's like not any kind of pizza that...
that shit sucks. What are you talking about?
Okay, I'm talking about...
I usually don't get the pizza.
It's a problematic fave, okay? Like, it's like not any kind of pizza that anyone has ever made on purpose.
No. It's like very hard.
Yeah.
Like, I
like got the cauliflower crust.
Early 20s, like, dinner party where someone's like, I'm going to make pizza for everyone.
Right.
It's like, we could have ordered pizza.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really get pizza there, and I also don't really go there that often, but it's right by our house, the one in Lakeview.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to eat, like, I don't know. So anyway, I went there. It was not the best choice, but they had a cauliflower crust pizza, and I didn't know that you can call your pizza cauliflower crust if it still has, like, a lot of flour in it, so it's basically
that's fucked up.
Yeah, so it's basically just as bad for you, but it's gluten-free, which I don't care about.
It is gluten-free.
It's gluten-free.
So loud. Yeah.
Because they put a different kind of flour in it, but it tastes like bread because it just tastes like bread but smells like farts. But it has the same consistency as bread and it's not bad. But I was like, I could have just eaten bread.
Yeah, there's some foods that smell the same up top and down below.
Yeah, cauliflower.
It's very upsetting.
Yeah,
cauliflower does that.
It's a bad smell.
I've told y'all if I eat like too much garlic or like especially roasted garlic, I'll fart. And it'll smell just like someone is in the room making a very good pasta sauce.
Well, that's something that's always disoriented me is that like it's all about context. Like farts can absolutely smell. Like if you fart in the kitchen and you're not cooking but you pretend to cook and someone walks in, they're gonna be like, smells great.
Really?
I think so. I mean, it depends on the fart.
How do you pretend to cook if you're not cooking?
What do your farts smell like? I don't think
food. What do your farts smell like, Susanna?
You don't have to be in this relationship anymore or answer that question.
Thank you, Benjamin.
I mean, honestly, it was a joke. It's obviously a joke because I could tell you better than she could probably. But you will be pleased to hear that
really got her there, Michael.
You'll be pleased to hear nothing this man ever says to you.
You'll be pleased to hear that
in your whole life
that I completely forgot to do laundry until just now, so I just started a load. And Benjamin's clothes are in the dryer.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm Susanna.
I'm Camille. Pleasure to meet you.
What a great time to introduce our guest.
Yeah, that is the best intro for a guest that we've done once. Thank you, Suze.
Our guest is Camille Roane. It is Roane, right?
Yeah, it's Roane.
Okay, good. Some people say it weird.
Camille Roseanne.
Roane.
Yeah, that's a great name.
Roane is how I've heard people say it.
Yeah.
People that have brought you up on stage, but I don't know. I can't remember who.
People like to say Roanne sometimes.
Roanne, yeah.
And then if I say it I guess I can't say R's or something, so sometimes it sounds like Brown, and I'm like, Camille Roane.
I actually know a
R.
Camille Brown. It's funny.
I feel like one day I'll just get up and be like, my name's Camille Brown.
Yeah. It's a good name.
I mean, if it's a white house, they might just be like, Camille Brown.
Yeah, they would just
there we go.
And it'd be easy, and we could be done with this, and I'd be like, whatever.
I got way too drunk at the wedding and at Addie and Cyrus's wedding, and was making jokes
Mazel tov,
about
also
was making jokes about Bobby Jindal calling him a brown person because he went to Brown University.
Oh.
I was like, I thought that was real funny.
Oh,
and
so
I
funny.
woke up this morning and I was like, oh no.
I think I was really, really drunk, and I was like, I got to get out of here. And so I think I left before I did anything really, really bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best feeling.
Yeah. So I don't know, unless I'm forgetting something. I had like a few things where I was like, I always feel like I embarrass myself in front of Caitlin. But other than that, I think I was okay.
Is she
You
like
know who else feels that way? Is Caitlin.
Yeah.
Is she like your person? I feel like, yeah, I have people who it's just like, oh, every time I see them, I black out, and you'll never know that. Sometimes I don't do that.
Sometimes I'm okay. Right. I think she just makes me really nervous because I want her to like me. And it's like we're at that weird friend level where we're not close enough friends that if I were to say something really weird, she'd be like, that Mary Devon, what a card. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I still like her enough that I want her to like me.
So you feel like you're still in the window where she doesn't know what she thinks about you, and anything you do can ruin the impression.
Yeah, I feel that way
We've known
about
each other for years.
Yeah.
I know, but I feel that way about everyone who's not like my best friend. And even then, I feel weird.
Have you ever felt that way about me, Mary Devin?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
I definitely felt like I've said things that I was like, why did I talk about that so much to Camille? She probably thinks I'm a fucking idiot now.
Oh, this is the coolest I've ever felt. Thank you.
Do you remember what it was?
Probably about like when we've talked about something I wanted to talk to Camille later about on the show. So I want to wait till the vibe gets good and we've had some alcohol to talk about this.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It's not bad. It's not like something we disagree on, but it's just an interesting topic because Camille has an opinion that most people don't have about New Orleans people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna make me really popular.
I love that now it's like, okay, instead of actually easing into it, there's just this fucking thing hanging over us.
Well, I can just cut it and then,
And then we can talk about it later. Or we can talk about it now.
I feel like 1 out of every 6 times we record, we accidentally do like Mark Maron podcast, but we're drunk instead of recovering. So it like doesn't work actually, and nothing's really revealed. We just like, so what's your problem?
Do you watch Glow?
I watched the first season, and
Did you like it? No.
I don't like narrative storytelling on television.
Yeah.
Like visually. So I typically only watch for hair and makeup, and the 80s are my least favorite decade for that stuff.
Okay.
So it's hard for me.
It's hard for me how horny it makes me for Mark Maron.
Ew.
Yeah, he's really hot in the show. A lot of people feel
I
this
think
way.
he's been hot.
I don't think that he's attractive, but I do think that his personality is attractive to Mary Devin in the show.
It's very attractive to me. It's attractive to a lot of people. They knew what they were doing. Yeah.
What season are they on? Are they on like third?
Third, yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
He seems like one of those people where it's like, generally someone who's trying too hard, that's like really unattractive. But if you try even harder than that, then you're Mark Maron, and that's like hot.
Yeah, maybe.
He just is trying so hard all the time.
His personality in the show is very different than his personality. I don't like his personality on his podcast, and I liked his show on IFC or whatever, and I did not want to fuck him. I don't think, maybe once or twice, but I mean, I love a man with a lot of neuroses, but
Ew.
I know.
Are you talking about your taste or like the specific person that you're marrying?
Both. Yeah, both. I don't think I've ever dated someone who was not very neurotic.
They do both like nervously scream at cats, like Jeff and Mark Maron.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, but Jeff's just screaming, "I love you."
I've seen him frustrated at the cats.
I know he gets frustrated, like they know what they're doing because he thinks that they're people.
Well, and, I mean, your cats, like, they shriek several times a day.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Like, they don't meow. They just, like, they sound like they're dying.
Yeah, Rory holds notes. Like, Rory will scream as long as he can and then, like, cough because he's done it for so long. Sorry, this is very, very boring. Do you have you hate cats?
I don't hate cats. I don't have particular. That's kind of a sad story. So I had a little street cat. Like, it was a porch cat, and it was the perfect kind of animal for me because I don't like to care for living things. Like, I don't even have a plant in my house. Just like, if it doesn't pay rent, it doesn't live with me. Yeah. And cats can't pay rent. So it just like lived on the porch. We were friendly. I would come home drunk. We would like cuddle sometimes, and it was lovely. I had named her. I gave her water. I didn't necessarily give her food, but I gave her water.
You were like, kill a lizard, okay?
I love Jazzy Cat. And then around Hurricane Barry, I was like texting my neighbor telling him that we were going to leave town. And he was like, bad news. Jasmine got eaten by like a ferocious dog on the street.
Oh, no.
Why put it that way? Don't say the truth.
Yeah, just lie. Be like,
Jasmine passed away.
Jasmine ran away. Yeah.
It was very sad.
And then really sad.
And then like Joy had gotten like really obsessed with the cat. So then we were like packing to like leave. We were going to Mississippi for like Barry. And Charles happens to come outside, and I hadn't told Joy yet because, like, you know her. She just, like, has a sweet baby angel face. Like, no one wants to tell her disappointing news. So I hadn't told her yet. And, of course, Charles comes walking out, and he's like, yeah, really sad about Jazzy Cat. And I was like, fuck you, Charles. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And then we had to get in the car and drive for 3 hours with Joy very
For the fake hurricane.
Yeah, for the fake hurricane it was a bad weekend.
Man, that sucks. R.I.P. Jazzy Cat.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. My mom ran over my kitten when I was in the car with her. My parents, we adopted kittens.
What did you do?
It was horrific.
I mean, what did you do to make your mom do that?
She didn't know. So the cats always ran out of the way whenever, we pulled in the driveway. And Furby, what I named the cat at the time.
Okay.
Furby did not run away. It just panicked and was caught under my mom's giant SUV. And then it ran away. She ran away. So I was like, Mom, maybe there's a chance. And she was like, no, sweetie, all of her organs have exploded.
Your mom said that?
She was like, I just don't want you to get your hopes up. I'm going to take her to the vet, but they run away to be alone to die. And so she had gone under a house. Because my mom still feels bad about this. It crushed her.
She's not the only person.
Yeah.
Low hanging fruit. Okay.
And then so Furby lived for the car ride to the vet, but died at the vet. So yeah.
Wait, died. Did you make it into the appointment? Was it
There was no appointment. When your cat
to-
gets run over by a car, you take it to the one that's open all the time. You're not like, hey, can you pencil me in?
My point is that did Furby die before or after it cost you a lot of money?
I don't think that they charged my mom.
Oh, that's
think that she was still meowing when they got to the vet, and I remember praying at my grandmother's house. My mom left me at my grandmother's house, and I prayed for Furby to be okay. But my mom was like, "She's not gonna live." I killed it.
God's not listening.
Yeah, yeah, it was really really sad. But I feel like, now I'm prepared for that to happen again. I always think about what's gonna happen when our cats die and how hard it's gonna be on Jeff. But
I guess I have given you shit for not letting your cats out, and now it makes sense.
yeah, we have bad luck with cats. My other cat got feline AIDS. The Furby's brother lived for 15 years, but not feline AIDS. He got cancer, so his mouth fell off, and he just had exposed teeth. And then we had another cat named Flush who was obsessed with toilets, who was feral, who died of feline AIDS. We had bad luck with cats. They did not do well outside. That's why I do not mind keeping our cats inside. They are way less likely to get diseases and stuff. But I understand. Also, we have coyotes, but I've never seen a coyote in our neighborhood, but I've heard about coyotes.
Just the urban legend.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen
I feel like Jeff just saw a medium-sized dog once.
Yeah.
And was like, don't go outside.
Also, our cats, now that they've been inside cats, I feel like if they went outside, Fred would be like, what is this awesome thing? And it'd be a car, and then he would immediately die. So Fred's really stupid. Rory would be fine. Rory, loves the leisurely life and, would not go outside.
Which is the one with the gross eye?
That's Fred.
Don't let that one out.
Yeah, no, well, Fred can't see. Fred will, hurl himself. He'll jump, to try to get on a counter and just hit his head because he doesn't have good depth perception because he has, a cataract in one of his eyes, which is very, very funny.
Because it's a cataract? Is that why? Or, no.
No.
That's not.
That's
okay.
not why it's funny.
I was like,
going for these today.
well, because I know you hate puns, but I thought you thought that was funny.
No, I think it's funny because he is so confident when he does it, and then he'll just bounce off of a surface and then walk away like nothing happened.
Style it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, my cat still doesn't know that she can hop fences. So she'll walk. She walks all the way around. She'll get into the neighbor's yard and then she'll see me in the backyard and want to come inside. She'll look at me and meow. And I'm like, I mean, you
can come.
You can do this. I've even leaned over the fence to be like, do you want me to get you? And she's like, I don't think that's in the cards. Yeah, so then she'll walk all the way from the back of the house to the front where there's a little hole that she can get in, and then
Man,
But she's a cat. She can do it.
that's adorable.
I don't know how she hasn't figured out that she can do it. Also, when we first let her outside, she because we didn't let her out until she was 6 months or 8 months or something like that. We opened the door and she just looked at us and meowed for the first time. She was silent until she got scared enough to just start being what the fuck is this? And then we went outside and she kind of followed us, but she walked extremely low to the ground and just shrieked. But now she loves it out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh man, I saw a woman walking a cat on a leash the other day, and it was so fucking funny. She was just dragging a limp cat, basically. And then the cat would like get up and walk 2 feet and then just like flop. And then I was just staring at this woman, and when she saw me, I was like, I'm sorry, this is the most adorable thing I've ever seen. She was like, it's a learning process. It's like, I don't think your cat's ever going to learn how to walk on a leash.
Wait, does that mean that she's done this with other cats? Like she has older cats at home that she's all leash trained, and
Maybe.
she just like loves this activity.
Maybe. You might catch her again. It was on Esplanade, so who knows? It was a weird sight.
It's a learning process.
It's a learning process.
She probably says that to like many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People probably give her weird looks. I mean,
Yeah.
she's walking a cat.
It's like what someone says after you catch them hitting their kid. It's a learning process. Hopefully I won't have to do this forever, but right now I really have to.
I get it.
Working on my form. When I was little, we had a cat that she was like an outside cat too, but she would see us walking the dog and then just come with. It was fucking cute.
Aw.
I know. I'm never gonna get that again.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
In Iowa City, it was like so fucking cold, and there are no outside cats in Iowa City. It's like illegal, so they just like they'll swoop them up because they eat all the birds, and that's not good. I'm sure it was just Jonathan Franzen was like no, and like anyway, it doesn't matter. And an orange cat followed us home, and it was like -5 degrees outside or whatever, and I should have let the cat in, but I didn't. But what I did do was make it scrambled eggs.
Did it eat the eggs?
About half of them, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
I like
amazing.
Googled like what can you feed a cat.
Wow, scrambled eggs.
Yeah, it probably froze to death that night. I'm so dumb,
man.
but you know,
Luke's cat that he still has, he got because it was just like outside, like as a tiny little kitten in this like fucked up house we used to live in that had holes in the floor. But it was just like wandering outside like by itself, and Luke was like drunk and sad and lonely and like fed it a cheeseburger. Like he like shared a cheeseburger with it. It was a very cute story. Mm-hmm. I think Luke he's going to be Mark Maron in Glow event in like 3 years.
I can see that. Yeah,
You think so?
Yeah, he's aging. You know.
Yeah. He's what?
He's aging.
he's Asian.
Oh, I thought you said Asian. I was like,
he's Asian.
He looks kind of Asian. I always wanted to know.
He's
but
not.
He's just.
he's
yeah.
German.
He's German. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not in Asia.
Yeah, you're right.
Totally different place.
I'm just gonna stare at Michael's half-eaten pepperoni and cheese. What's it? Peanut butter and jelly. Man, I got bad.
Are you
pizza.
having a stroke?
Yes.
Oh, you're thinking about Reginelli's. That makes
Yeah.
more sense.
Yeah, I have like heartburn from Reginelli's, so I'm thinking. I didn't eat pepperoni though.
What'd you eat?
It was some cheese pizza, but it was like spinach and garlic sauce, and it was a Reginelli's pizza, but it was no meat. But yeah.
Now's probably a good time to tell Camille that don't be afraid of dead air because I cut it, so it's fine.
Oh, cool.
Also, don't be afraid to interrupt us when we're very, very boring. Camille's a comedian in New Orleans, and you're the one of many or the producer of. How's the structure of No Lie work? Is it? It's like a collective.
I'm sorry. I'm just like rolling my eyes. I'm like, I don't know. Can I give a long answer?
Yeah,
Do you mind?
sure.
please.
Okay. A couple of years ago, there were maybe 4 or 5 comics, Black women, who decided to throw a comedy festival, and that was Black Girl Giggles. That happened. I produced BGG for 2 years, and what basically happened was we started producing shows in between to like raise money for the festival because festivals are very expensive. And we kind of always just wanted to make sure that we were amplifying the voices of Black femme comics in the city. So doing that, we just got a lot of experience working together and enjoyed it and started a podcast and stuff like that. And then it kind of became clear that there were kind of 2 missions here. And one was the production of the festival every year. And then one was kind of just creating like an incubator. That sounds so fucking self-important. But just kind of like creating space for Black women in comedy so that we could like encourage each other and like just...
Yeah, wow, how self-important.
Just the word incubator sounded self-important. Like I somehow can incubate little baby comics. Like I don't know anything. I guess kind of with the goal of making the New Orleans comedy scene look more like the city of New Orleans. yeah, that's how No Lye Comedy started. I am one of the founders of that, and yeah, I think there's probably like 25 or maybe even 30 of us total, and probably about 5 to 10 of us that like put in a lot of time. But the good thing about the model is that people kind of come in and come out and do the work that they can as they're able, because I think it's very true for like a lot of people, but especially like women, like a lot of people are mothers and like have important shit to do. So it's not like we always have the availability to like hit 7 mics a week and like spend 10 hours a day like trying to produce shit. So like when people are able, they can plug in, do the work, and when they're not, they can kind of peace out and they're always welcome back.
That's cool. It's a good system.
You're also, wasn't there like some 50 states roundup of like comedians to watch? Were you one of those?
Yeah.
Yes. What was that? Vulture? What was that?
No, it was Thrillist. Thrillist named me the, I don't know, best undiscovered comic in Louisiana, and it was really stupid and really embarrassing. But I was like, I don't know, it's a credit, so this speaks badly of the Louisiana scene because it's not me, and it makes it look sad, but whatever.
Yeah, I feel like it's like our duty to list your credits, which we did not do. So there's a credit. There's that. There's Black Girl Giggles.
I mean, Thrillist is famous for like shitty listicles. So when they decided to do a comedy one, it was going to be a shitty listicle.
Which is not to say that you're not funny or that anyone on that list is not funny, but
there are hilarious people on the list.
Yeah, I found a lot of people that I
but there's no way to say that one person is, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way unless someone actually, I'm sure everyone in every single city was pissed, even if they weren't like, I'm sure that there were people that were just like, blah, because there's no way that you're going to do if you pick one person, it was in a state. Yeah. There's no way that you're going to make everyone happy. But it is good to highlight, like, I mean, it highlighted what you're like the things you're a part of, No Lye, and are you a part of any other like production companies or?
No, Me just work with No Lye.
Right, I feel there's like 4 or 5 of those articles, like type articles that come out every year, and it's so fun because it's just like, oh, I get to be a bitch to my friends. Like, everyone just gets bitter. Like you can't not. Well, then it's so hard not to like resent other people's success, even if they're especially if they're your friends.
I've been noticing recently, and I think that this is just like
not
a larger.
That not me.
You all invited me here to tell me that you hate me for this article that came out like over a year ago. So this has been fun. I've noticed. This isn't, I guess, not my observation, but media outlets are so incredibly understaffed that it's not like anyone is ever fact checking or like they're putting the resources in to like really do the work when they want to write about anything. And oftentimes it's like something simple and stupid, like Dancing Grounds was named the best dance studio in that Gambit list that they put out every year. They put the wrong address. Like it's very, very simple things. And like there have been like just a couple of times where I'm like, oh man, No Lye got this write up. I'm so excited. And then been like, fuck, like that's not
right.
So-and-so's name. Like that's not the date. And it comes down to just simple, like, they don't have the money to pay people who fact check.
You're like, who the fuck is Camille Brown?
Yeah. And it just like pisses me off to my core because like I studied journalism school. That's like what I wanted to do. I didn't graduate, but like it was something that like I dabbled in. So I was like, I don't know, when we were fucking 19 years old, we fact checked shit in like our shitty little college newspaper. Yeah. And now these major outlets just like, it's sad and it's frustrating.
I really don't find those kind of roundups particularly offensive. Like, I mean, like obviously not as a comic because I'm like barely a comic, but like specifically, I don't get that feeling, and I'm not just like performing like I'm such a good person, but like I have one specific kind of bitterness. Like I went to grad school with a lot of people who have had novels come out in the past, like since I left, which was 3 years ago or whatever, and gotten like great press or whatever. And I'm like always happy for them, except for the ones who stop being funny on Twitter as soon as they get any attention. And my friend Tony Tulatimoody, who to his credit wrote a book, got good press, and stayed funny on Twitter, has like tweeted a while back. He was like I hate it when my friends get reviewed by the New York Times and then they just delete all their tweets about eating ass. Like you're still an ass eater and like embrace it.
Well, when your name's Tony Talacapaccio or whatever, you have to tweet about eating ass.
He's Thai, so you're racist.
Oh, I thought he was Italian.
Yeah,
What
it
is
did
it?
sound like it was like Tony Licatudio.
Yeah, it does. Wait, say it again.
Tula Tamudi.
Tula Tamudi. I thought that was Italian, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm just racist.
No.
Oh, is that even? Is thinking a Thai name is Italian racist, or is it just weird?
You think Luke's Asian. You think a Thai dude's Italian. You're just bad.
I'm bad
this.
at bad at choosing.
Yeah, Fredo Tula Tamudi.
It's okay, guys. Mary Devon doesn't see race.
That's true. It's true.
I do see race. I see color.
I really see it a lot.
I see it. I care about
Think
it.
about it all the time. It makes me mad.
I see that, and then I stop looking at other stuff. That's where it ends. Start
I
to
only
finish.
see race.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I only get bitter when people start taking themselves seriously.
Yeah.
And like are worried, like are terrified that they're gonna like get canceled for having an opinion about like Israel or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just like fucking.
They get defanged.
It really cooks my grits. Yeah.
Really powders your balls.
I think
I really powder my balls.
I only get bitter for like a little bit, because then like eventually you realize that you're just mad at yourself. Like, or I mean, I guess some people don't, and those are really fucking bitter people, and it sucks. But I just get sad after that.
See, what I
so
hate is
someone else
everyone-
does well, and then I'm like, fuck them, they don't deserve it. And then I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, they do.
I've been on both sides. I've been on both sides of it where like I've wanted things. I've never gotten anything, but like the Vice thing was at our house, and and I was on a show no one watched. And not everyone who was filmed had their sets on that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I remember when it came out, like I could tell the cameras weren't focusing on me as much as they were focusing on Molly Rubin Long. And she also got mic'd before. She got mic'd and I was not mic'd for the
Right.
show. And that pissed me off. And I remember just hating everyone because I was in my house. They didn't get enough booze. Vice people all suck except for Jen Tam, who's freelance. But like everyone in that crew sucked shit. They were like an asshole. Please, Lance Bangs sucks shit. He fetishized the shit out of John Rowe and posted before like even all of his friends knew when he died. He posted this like tribute
Yeah,
to
you told me
him.
about that.
Fucking hate Lance Bangs. He's such a prick.
I love a good like bitter. I hate this person. I will say their name forever.
Oh yeah, fuck
so
Lance
good.
Bangs. Also, he like wouldn't let anyone wear red, and it was so funny that John was like the star of that show, and he wore a red vest, and like his only directions from Lance Bangs were please don't wear red, and then he wore his iconic red vest.
I mean, you can't tell
John,
yeah.
So anyway, so that
Hey John,
show.
don't have a condom you're wearing recreationally fall off on a moving job that we're on.
Yeah. But that show just like ruined me. It was like the first time I've ever been bitter. I was probably only like a year and a half into comedy, and it made me like bitter. And then it made everyone else bitter when like I and other people who were on it like we ended up having our sets featured on it, and then the people that didn't, some of whom it was because they just got too hammered. And then some of whom it was like, or some of whom just had good sets, but they just had to cut it. So it was, that was a weird experience. But then other than that, I don't think I usually get like super bitter about little
That's
things.
like really impressive that was the first time. Bitterness is just a driving
I'm
force
always
in my
bitter.
life.
I'm always bitter. Like whenever there's something like the Heart of the City thing, I know was like obviously not targeted for white comics, but there were white comics who were invited on that when they came to New Orleans. So like that made me feel really bad about myself. But like for like one day, I'm usually good about like getting over it. What pisses me off is when other people like I've gotten over it in my head, and then people will be texting me about it all day, and I'm like, I've already gotten over this. Like, I've already gotten over it though. So now I just want to like not focus on. Or the worst is when people who don't do comedy will be like, why aren't you on this? And I'm like, I wish I was dead. Like, that because they don't realize what they're saying is like, you're not good enough, and that's like what's going through your head.
Yeah,
I
get that for sure.
Yeah, I love it when 70-year-olds are just like, you should do late night. Have you considered just calling Conan and being like, hey Conan, let's talk. I need to get on your show.
Also, then you meet people that like they're like, I've done late night 5 times, and I have 6 jobs, and I hate my life.
I
And
work
like,
at the muffin store.
I can't get an agent, or like my agent still sucks. Like, I don't know why any of us do this.
It's
like, I guess
real
you have to
stupid.
just enjoy it, because like even people that like. you have to be so successful to make a living, or just a complete hack and like work the like shittiest fucking rooms and like be like one of those like road dogs who like tells like the same fucking sports joke and changes the name of the team in every town they go in.
Right.
I mean, the second I like
Triple Run style.
The second I realized that basically treating it as a hobby that I really, really care about doesn't mean that it's not like quote unquote my craft. Like I'm still working.
Yeah.
I'm still working at it. I still want to be the funniest comic I can be and do whatever's in my power to do that. But like once I was like, I'm never going to be famous. I'm never going to move. And I can just like have a life that is like easier. Because like it was really stressful and it was really hard on my relationship when I thought that one day we were going to have to move, because every decision we made me feel like we were either getting closer to or farther away from moving. And moving's not something I want to do other than for comedy, really. Right. I mean, it'd be nice to live in another city, but like everything's so fucking expensive, and we have like a nice house and like a nice life, and my family's here.
And like a pretty good, a decent deck.
Yeah, we have a decent deck. It's way better since Isaac helped fix it. But Jeff still did 90% of that deck on his own. But Isaac did fix it. Now it's great. I love you, Jeff. Jeff knows it. He was there helping Isaac.
I mean, the whole idea that you're not legit unless you're making a living off of it is some late capitalist bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you're still... But it is really freeing to just be like, I'm doing this for me, so that way if I don't want to go to an open mic one night...
Your identity doesn't crumble.
Exactly, and it still does. Like, I'm not going to go to Hi-Ho tonight, but I'm also like, I have a stressful job now. This 3 hours alone versus being with other people will do wonders for me tomorrow.
Right.
I spend a lot of time, and this sounds bitter because I guess I'm a bitter, mean person, but I have to look around oftentimes at my day job and see like other people and be like, okay, yeah, maybe you're not like the best comic in the world, or you're not doing everything you possibly can, but I have a life outside of like what I do for a living, and I feel like that makes me more... Yeah, like I'm multi-dimensional and interesting and cool, and that makes me feel okay.
And you have multiple communities that you're a part of, which is like cool. Not that your work is a community, but like sometimes it is. I mean, don't know.
No one who lives in New York and does 30 mics a week has a life that isn't work and comedy.
Yeah.
There's you can't do the commute times alone are a full-time job.
Right.
Yeah. Sounds fun, honestly, but
it would be so fucking awesome not to have a job, though.
Like, that is and like dream life, obviously.
Like, I think about people who were failed comedians in the 80s. It's like, you had to be so bad to be a failed comedian in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like, all those
Everyone
people
was so
sucked
bad.
shit. Like, all that comedy is fucking awful. There's like a few funny people from back then.
It sucks shit now, but it was like when they were the first person to be like...
I don't think
Lady.
it
My
I feel
wife
like
sucks.
you can go to,
exactly.
you can go to like almost any like decent sized city in America, and there's probably a bunch of really funny people.
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
that no one's ever heard of, that are never gonna make it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's okay, though.
Well, it's okay, but it just sucks that there are like people that are talented that like, you know, you still gotta fucking work, and you can't stay good at comedy if you don't do it often.
No, you can't.
I think that there are way more people who really fucking deserve it than will ever get it. Like not just like more comedians than there are places to make a living. Like way more people deserve it than will fucking get it. And that's something I was thinking about this today, because I was listening to some podcast where like a comedian I never fucking
deserve it or would be good at it. Like, because I don't think anyone deserves it.
Well, so right,
Yeah.
that's a different conversation. But I just mean in terms of like are as funny as anyone else and are putting in as much work as anyone else.
I just think that like to deserve it, it means that like there are comedians that are successful that this person would be better than, and that is a flaw in the system, definitely.
Oh, then I mean in that case, yeah.
We're also talking about like making it, but we haven't like defined like what making it is. There's so many different levels, and I think that that's not necessarily unattainable. It's like
I feel
you
like
might be able.
I feel like there's a real boom right now, and it's only going to get bigger before it pops.
Not working and also not sacrificing who you are to do like shitty places that actually pay for whatever reason.
Is there any sort of ambitious pursuit where you don't actually sacrifice a large part of yourself and personality? Like, you have to be
I just
a
think not
specific
working,
kind of
because
psycho.
I think the sacrifice, that's what any job is. Like, it's just there aren't enough like jobs.
Yeah, but for me, I would just have to
In
do
comedy.
jokes that I didn't think were funny.
Not think that that's like maybe people finding a way to like rework the business model, then especially in a city like New Orleans where most of our shows are free and stuff like that, I feel like the focus should potentially be on changing the business model so that things are profitable in a way.
Should we just all start charging the same day?
I think we should have a week where we all
started
charge.
a union.
I think we should have a week where we all charge $5.
We should start a union. The fucking Ted Alexandro, a comic out of New York, he like kind of got a comedians union started there. And that was like years after he like had like led a strike that increased pay at all the clubs. Like it wasn't just one club; it was like across clubs. He like got, if you're a feature, you're guaranteed this much. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
like
I don't think we should start a union in New Orleans for comedians.
I mean, yeah, more people would actually have to give a shit about it.
I would
but
like
I
to start writing a pilot for a like show about that because that'd be hilarious.
It would But I mean, I think that we can all agree 1 week just to see how it goes. We're all going to charge at our shows. I'd be happy to do that, and like we can all we can collectively decide things. But if we start an actual union, that like, I don't think that we need to start a dues paying union. We just need to all collectively be like, you know, we're not going to work for free anymore.
I feel like one of the bigger issues beyond like, okay, we all need to charge for shows is that like, oh God, I feel like such an asshole. What I feel like one of the biggest issues in the New Orleans comedy scene in terms of making shows profitable and making sure that they're packed is like doing the promotional work and making sure that we're taking advantage of the market here. Like there are enough people in New Orleans and enough tourists in particular that like we should be able to sustain packed shows regularly. And I think that maybe once that happens and like how we make money will become even more clear.
Well, we have like, I mean, usually if shows don't fail, they get a natural audience in the city within a year or two. And then if they fail to get it, like, you know, I mean, like Boxed has been happening for over a year, and Laura and I are co-producing it now, and she's better.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's good, because I just told her, I was like, I'll do work, but like I have no vision. I don't have any vision. I have no ambition. I hate promoting things. I hate creating materials. All I can do is stand up. And I'm good at it, but I am like a savant for when it comes to anything in comedy. All I can do is be on stage. Every other aspect of it, I'm horrible.
It is also insane that venues don't promote shit. They don't promote bands either.
Yeah, Hi-Ho's offered to help. He's offered to help me. Like he's
Hi-Ho.
Yeah,
is that what
Mr. Hi-Ho?
Mr. Hi-Ho. Mike at Hi-Ho's offered to help me. He's like, tell me what you need. I can like contribute for posters,
really nice.
blah blah blah. And I just wait until a week out and don't do it.
It's one of those situations, though, where, okay, you're going to produce a show because you're good at comedy, but being good at comedy doesn't mean that you're good at that job.
shows.
It's the same thing that happens in work, where, like, you get a promotion because you're good at doing that job.
Right.
Not necessarily that you're good at, like, leading people or marketing or, like, promotion or whatever.
The jump between, like, doing a task and then managing people who do that task is, like, fucking night and day.
Like,
and, like,
I'm the first person in the entire world to say, like, I'm a much better producer and, like, show marketer than I am a stand-up. But I also am an event planner for, like, a living.
Right.
So, like, yeah, I spend 50 hours a week doing it in this arena, so it translates.
I just feel like, I agree with you that the tourist circulation is such that, like, we should absolutely be able to pack out several shows a weekend or whatever. Like,
I think we do, though.
well, yeah, Dragon's Den fucking packs it out. And when you say, like a self-sustaining audience or whatever, I feel like
so does Local Uproar.
There we go.
No, for
multiple
sure.
shows.
But the reason I'm talking specifically about Dragon's Den is because every time you ask like who's not from New Orleans, it's like more than half the crowd by a long shot.
Yeah.
Like that is some foot traffic. Like you guys put in a kind of like.
But the flyering isn't even where we get our audience anymore.
Where does it come
People
from?
Googling comedy.
Oh really?
Vince is actually really good. I think Vince should go back to school and do like a graphic design boot camp or something, because he's really good at like that shit. He's really good at like making promotional materials, and he's good at what else was I gonna say? He's just good at promoting shit. Some of the stuff isn't like, he just does everything and sees what sticks, and he doesn't know what sticks, but he does everything and something stuck.
Yeah.
Like handing out flyers.
I saw that he's running Facebook ads now.
Yeah.
We should ask him
He's
about
always
that.
done that.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if he really knows if it's that. I don't know if he knows a lot about SEO or not, but like he's gotten it so that when people Google comedy in New Orleans, like we come up.
Yeah.
And yeah, people say that they saw it online. Also, there's something online that says that we start at 7:30 that makes people really, really mad, and we cannot find it.
Oh, dude. So, Local Uproar started out as an open mic at
I remember that.
It's like 6:30 on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's not at all what the show is anymore. It's been a book show for like 5 years at 8 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we've asked the people who own the Always Lounge to change it on their website for 5 years.
Are you sick?
So
And
people
people will
just show up at noon, like, where do I sign up?
Because like anyone who wants to be in the fucking audience like knows when to show
Yeah.
up, and like it's always
Is Always
packed.
even open at 6:30?
It's opening.
Okay,
So
yeah.
they'll like go up to the like bartender, and the bartender's like, I don't know, talk to them. It's like, well, it says it on the. It's like we've asked.
This is
We've
New
asked
Orleans.
so many-
Don't trust the websites. Yeah.
Yeah, also,
Yeah.
I'm sure that website doesn't look like it has trustworthy
Except for
material on it.
504comedy.com. Do trust that website.
I'm sure I haven't looked at it, but there's no way the Always Lounge website doesn't have lube on it. There's been several shows we've done where there's like a comic from like out of town, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, that chair is covered in lube, and they're like, ha 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 ha. And I'm like, no, it's coated in a thick layer of lube, like
Oh, man.
from someone's ass.
Yeah. Wait, don't they have like wrestling?
Yeah, jockstrap lube wrestling.
Okay,
It's
so
like the best show in the entire city. It
Yeah.
also draws a crowd.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say it doesn't have to be from the ass. Lube from someone's ass is like what Dan Savage would call Santorum.
Ah,
You remember
man,
that?
was a beautiful moment in
Yeah.
time, and I think about it once a week.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, it's not lube. It's like cum and shit
And lube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And frothy.
Frothy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, yeah. Dan Savage, problematic guy, but
Thank you for doing that.
What?
Thank you, Dan Savage, for doing
Yeah,
that.
for-
that
yeah.
was needed and necessary.
I still think of it as Santorum. Like, we're talking about Dan Savage naming the like frothy stuff that comes out of
Yeah,
your butt,
Santorum.
Santorum. Yeah.
Forgot about
Speaking
that
of
guy.
SEO, search engine optimization, that was a perfect use.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That ruined that dude, Rick Santorum.
I don't believe
Not
that
enough
at
for him
all.
to still not get paid to like say awful shit on television.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, he still gets like speaking gigs.
yeah, he's still like a Fox News contributor or something like that. He makes more money than we'll ever see in our lives. He's fine.
I haven't watched Fox News in so long. It was
Used to be your favorite, though.
well, I used to in high school
watch it.
Yeah, well, I would get as high as I possibly could, and then watch Fox News just to freak myself out.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I would do that.
Man. I got really, really high earlier today.
How are you feeling now?
Good.
Yeah.
I got higher than
edibles or no? Mm-hmm. Okay, so
I got higher than
Only
I've been in years the other day.
Yeah, because you took
tincture.
a tincture.
Yep.
I took a tincture. Well, I took too much tincture, I guess, and then also like a weed pill that I brought back from Colorado because I'm cursed and I can't smoke weed without my fucking throat
Oh, I
closing
forgot
anymore.
about that. Yeah.
It sucks, dude.
You're allergic?
I maybe like
He's
my
having
throat
some
like
bad-
closes up, so I can't
Did
smoke
it
or
start
vape.
happening like?
I was like getting like coughs, like really bad coughs.
Yeah.
Like a kid like hitting a bong for the first time.
Yeah.
Like where they just cough for like half hour. I was getting that, and then it got worse, and there was like a couple times in a row where I was like,
Yeah.
like could not breathe at all. But I could still eat weed. But I ate way too much, and I was scared to go outside.
And then you saw a really colorful exotic parrot.
Oh yeah, I went for a walk to try and sober up, and it didn't work at all because there was a fucking parrot on the sidewalk. Like I had my headphones in, and I was like listening to music, and then this guy like was like waving at me, and then like did the like gesture to like take my headphones out, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck this guy wants. Then he was like, it's a parrot, but it was like a cartoon colorful parrot just hanging out.
like Toucan Sam or whatever.
Yeah.
There's an episode of 6 Feet Under where one of the protagonists goes on a run and like smokes out of a one hitter like while he's running or whatever. And I'm like, oh, like maybe that's something that people do. Like that's, I'll try that. And I like got high and I went for a run and I was like, time has stopped. Life is suffering.
I love getting high and running.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I think it's
Today,
great.
I
Yeah.
burned. I have a heart rate monitor now because I started working out at what is called a CrossFit style gym.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so-
Unlicensed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like They're all licensed physicians. I mean, not physicians.
Not physicians.
What?
Kinesiologists. They're
No, I'm sure they're legit.
What's
just,
physical
like
trainers?
Nike Gatorade ad, like, Jim, are you working? And they're all licensed physicians.
Not
They come in,
physicians.
like, white coat.
Everyone
No.
sweats like glowing orange.
It's a good place.
you want to plug it?
Yeah, Vitality by Kristen.
Okay.
It's a good gym. It's a lot of gay ladies.
It sounds like a perfume, but
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It sounds like a gay perfume. Vitality by Kristen. I don't think it sounds like a. It sounds like a gay lady perfume, if anything.
Okay.
But she's like a yatty lesbian, and I'm friends with her girlfriend, which is how I found out about them. But they're very, very cool, and it's a lot of other yatty lesbians that go there, who are all tougher and stronger than I am. But
Exactly what you're looking for in a gym.
it is. And you wear a heart rate monitor so you can see how many calories you're burning. And I'm always burning way more calories than everyone because I'm way more out of shape. So we've done the same amount of exercise and I've always burned twice as many because my heart is beating way faster. And it takes me like no time to get into the red.
Yeah.
And also I realized that when I run, like all the things that everything said about how many calories I was burning are false because it's assuming that you're more in shape than
Right.
yeah. So I mean, it's bad and good because like you want to get to a point where you're not burning so much in such little time with such little effort, but it's also good to know that like I can actually like I always thought that if you ran you burned like 200 calories, but if you run for 20 minutes if you're out of shape you're going to burn like 400 calories. Yeah. Anyway.
Noted.
Yeah.
So how do we get on the topic of the gym? Oh yeah. I just edited last week's podcast. So I'm thinking about you putting on your heart rate monitor and then looking things up on Twitter that will make you mad, and then looking at how much it increases your
It
heart rate.
does pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm talking. But I guess when you're talking, your heart beats faster.
Is that true?
I mean, you're doing more than if you're not talking.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It gives me anxiety to think about my heart.
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of get that.
No.
Yeah.
I just don't think about it. I don't think about my organs very often. So anytime I think about my organs, I'm like, oh no.
I could use.
What have I done to you?
I could use like a minor heart attack so everyone would leave me alone. I've thought that before. I was like, I've been so stressed out at my job and I've had chest pains and I was like, I hope I get a fucking heart attack and I survive it so everyone will be like, Mary Devin, I'm so sorry. You were working so hard.
Oh, that's not. No, I feel like it would be the opposite. I mean, people would probably stop giving you as much work.
I couldn't work for a second.
But
which
they would be
great.
all in your business. Like everyone you've ever known would be like trying to text you
Yeah,
or call
that's
you
true.
or like give you sympathy, and that would be way worse.
You're right.
For me.
They'd be
I
like,
could
you should
keep it-
try
I'd
CBD
be like,
oil.
I would just like text everyone and be like, I died. Please
Yeah,
don't
I could
text me.
keep. Oh, my mom keeps on trying to get me to try CBD oil, and I'm like, Mom, I just want to be like, Mom, I smoke weed or eat weed every single day of my life. I have a lot of CBD in my system, and she knows I have smoked weed. She actually is getting more hip to it, as all older boomer
Right.
white ladies are. And I was like, yeah, so and so doesn't drink. So when I thought I was actually going to have a bachelorette party, I was like, it might kind of suck on the bachelorette party because she doesn't drink. She was like, well, does she do anything else like smoke pot? And I was like, oh, Mom, you're so cool. I was like, no, she shouldn't smoke pot either. But yeah.
The boomers' relationship with weed is very strange because my mom does the same thing. It's like the same personality. She's like, well, I've heard about this.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about getting myself some CBD oil. And she thinks it's like really funny and edgy. And I'm like, it's legal.
It's
like,
legal.
It's not that cool. You can buy some right now.
How did your mom enjoy the last local uproar?
So some backstory.
Okay.
Maybe like 2 years ago, I hadn't been doing comedy for very long. My mom and my grandma came to visit, and my mom and my grandma like to terrorize me by not telling me like exactly when they're coming.
Jesus.
It's just like
That's
I
so
have
stressful.
to plan a week, and I'm a psychopath about planning. I love my planner. I'm obsessed with it. I know everywhere I'm going to be all the time. So I'm like, well, you didn't tell me, so I'm going to do this show, and if you're here, I guess we're going. Whatever.
Yeah.
They come, and my mother and my grandmother see Mary Devin Dupuy, their favorite stand-up comedian.
Hated it a lot.
Of all time.
Oh my God.
My grandmother is like an old black woman who loves Jesus very passionately. And she just sat there. She does this thing where she like pokes out her bottom lip when she's upset. Like, yeah. And she sat there like that the entire, 7 minutes, but it felt like 24 hours.
You just made such a cartoon face of a grumpy old lady. Like,
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah, like the guy, like the old man from Up with his like entire lower jaw jutting out. Yeah.
I don't even think that she feels that she like knows it. And my mom does it too.
Like
And
Susanna's
sometimes I'll
face.
be like, you're doing it. And she like doesn't even feel it in a way.
Yeah.
But the real joy was watching my mother, like she had to feign being upset just to like please her own mother. She was just like, I'm offended too.
Yeah, because your mom's cool.
I wouldn't say that my parents are cool, but like
They're not pearl clutching.
yeah, I mean, she thinks that she's like much more pearl clutching than she is.
Gotcha.
Like she would like it if I was like, oh, she's like so super Christian, so like conservative. But like if they were like that, they wouldn't come visit to me in New Orleans.
I always forget that about you. That you have conservative parents. Can you put them on blast right now? Will you disown your parents on this podcast?
They're not like politically conservative.
No,
Right? They're
what
just
else?
Christian.
Socially. Sane.
Okay, my mom
We could cut this, but
is Christian. My dad is, I guess, agnostic these days. They voted, and I still don't know to this day if my dad did or not, but my mom voted for Bush in 2000. And I bring it up every time I see her. But it only makes her happy because she's like, well, we are rich these days. Here's an opportunity to tell you how much money I had. Like, it brings up fond memories for her. She was like, I had enough money to be like, fuck everyone. And it's just like a joyous memory for her.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm telling you, you're a bad person.
Right.
Yeah, so that happened. They're not that way anymore, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe one day they'll be rich again and be like, I hate you.
I also feel like in 2000, it was like, I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking of Elizabeth Warren and how I don't care that she was a Republican until 1996. Because I think that before we were connected to how much policies actually, like, I think that now we're all more connected to how, like, austerity politics actually affects poor people. And I think that, like, we were a lot more disconnected back then from it. And actually, I think people actually
I think the
believed-
Republican Party has been blatantly racist since Nixon.
Since the Southern strategy. Since
But don't
they,
you
like,
think that-
intentionally did it?
I think that is what has defined the party, and the whole like song and dance of fiscal responsibility or any of that like social values. I think is bullshit. I think people have been like voting for Republicans because of racism.
I think people were
First and foremost, that has been their absolute priority. Public relations, everything. I think it is a problem that she was a Republican back then. Like I can't imagine.
It just doesn't affect
kind
my
of-
opinion of her now.
Yeah, finish your thought.
Well, I just don't think that I think that what racism was, because it was so prevalent, like you don't know you're being boiled in water, whatever the
Right.
thing is. Like I think that it was just so prevalent that like white people didn't. I'm sure black people knew the Republican Party was racist, but like culture in general was so
yes, we
racist.
did. Except for my mom, who was like, I'm too rich to think about racism.
Right, but I think that like white people who did not necessarily, I think that it was very, very possible to actually believe that what they were saying was about like welfare queens and and they weren't actually painting this racist trope that they were buying into a racist trope that was structured like in a way that was to make people who didn't want to think that they were racist afraid of black people. And I believe that was happening, but I think it was like, I think that like a lot of white people look back at what they like bought into and they're like, holy shit, that's fucked up. But I'm just saying that like the same way that you look back at least we're all going to look back at things that we thought about like gender and like trans people and just like the Overton window, like there were still trans people being murdered, but like for people that were cis and privileged in that way, like we didn't realize that like saying tranny was fucking like really shitty and abusive. Like that's all I'm saying is like I think that there were a lot of people who didn't think that they were racist who thought that they liked black people.
There are still those people. I mean, the KKK is like, we're not racist. We just believe in this. Like, white people will do fucking gymnastics to not attach the word racist to like what they do.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth Warren's whole brand is like, I did the reading, like I did the homework or whatever. And so it's like really easy for her to be like, well, I believed in what they said they were about.
Yeah.
And then when it became apparent that they weren't even about that.
I think that they were racist. I think that like the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have been racist forever. I'm just saying I can see how like realistically someone who I would have probably liked in 1996 if I was an adult myself could have, but I guess I could see how a lot of people whose politics, I don't know.
I think for maybe some like random like white person who lived a normal, boring American life, I can see that could apply to that person. But someone who is a fucking Harvard professor, it's like, no, you can't have not thought about this.
So was she a Harvard professor when she was a Republican?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you think the fact that she was a Republican for that long disqualifies her from...
No, I mean, I think she's... Okay, I think if Bernie Sanders wasn't in the race right now, Elizabeth Warren would be far and away...
The obvious choice.
Not just the obvious choice, like the greatest candidate in like American history, like modern American history.
Yeah.
Like that had anything close to a shot. Like I think she's miles ahead of everyone. But I still think like that's a huge problem that she was thinking that way.
I mean, and like per Nathan's thing, like when she left the Republican Party, it wasn't like you guys are too racist.
Right.
It was you guys are ruining capitalism,
Yeah.
which is not the best. I mean, I would be fucking stoked to pull the lever if she gets the nomination. Like I would be happy. I'm like, so whatever.
Yeah, I guess all I was saying was I think that someone being a Republican now is a lot worse than someone being a Republican in 1996. But I guess I also like just because even though I think that it was still bad and racist, I think people were a lot more cavalier, at least people I know who are like older than me were a lot more cavalier with racism because I don't think that they actually saw the effects of it the way that we do now. Because I think one good thing about the internet is that we are more connected. So you could be very like blah, blah, blah if you were financially okay and not realize that you were like actively, I don't know. Please cut this, but...
You're good. You were going to talk.
I think that there is this tendency to take our own experiences and kind of like extrapolate them. So we're always like, well, now in 2019, like the Republicans are way worse, but it's more like, no, you're more woke than like other people maybe, or just like you're speaking from like, for lack of better words, like a bubble, I think. Like I'm doing a bad job of explaining this, but for example, my mom does this thing where she'll come to New Orleans and like look at the Hi-Ho or whatever bar and she'll be like, I didn't know that people still hung out at these like dirty little bars. It's like, no, you're just like old and you don't go to bars.
Right.
Like that doesn't speak to like the larger...
You just assume everyone's living a similar life to you.
Yeah, like no, you just got a chance to vote for Bush, so like you're different.
Yeah. Like I hate Ronald Reagan and like I hate that like sort of era of conservatism. Yeah, I think that like it is morally reprehensible.
He had the guts to stand up to
the air traffic controllers.
I think like it is morally like what he did for like stigmatizing any kind of social assistance like or any kind of social safety net for like black women and black people in general and just like basically any poor people is like still people are still affected by that. Like the term welfare is still a dirty word because of him. Like I think that like Republicans have always been as bad, but I think that I just think it's a lot easier. I guess you're right with like a Harvard professor, but I think even a lot of people who aren't like very online still like I think a lot of people, the only thing I think that like the irony people have right is that even though everyone should and is responsible for having good views, a lot of people don't. Like a lot of people who even like a lot of people who on the like not the right like say dumbass shit and like say shit about like immigration. Like a lot of people that hate Donald Trump will say things about immigration that are still extremely racist that like I talk to.
Yeah, or write for the Atlantic.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And like it's still so just to act like just to say like if anyone doesn't have perfect opinions, then there's no way that you just limit yourself. I mean, it's like this is like a classic conversation, but a lot of people who have imperfect opinions like are still there and still worth thinking about. is all I'm saying, I guess. And that's why I don't totally hate. That's why it's not like a huge deal for me that Liz Warren was a Republican. But I also like, I don't know.
I mean, also
have
like
less to lose for her having bad policies if she's still a secret racist.
I mean, when I was 15, I was racist,
They're all
homophobic,
secret racist.
transphobic. 15 years ago, I was on paper and actually a horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think that people can't change or whatever.
Right.
But
you were also a lot younger
I
than
have
she
more
was.
of a yeah, but I have more. I was also very precocious. I have more of a problem with what she's saying now about capitalism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
That said, I do think she's great and I love her, but I'm not voting for her.
Edit that to make me sound smarter and less babbly.
I always do. I always do. I always edit it to make how smart you are come through clearly.
Yeah, I guess. But how did that start? Why did I start talking about Liz Warren? Oh, Republicans. I was just saying, like, your parents, what they voted for in 2000. I feel like a lot of people vote. Like, I know someone who voted for McCain in 2008.
Mary Devon is just saying that she's like, she loves my mom.
Yeah.
One day
I do
they're
like
going to
your
get
mom.
along.
Your mom smiled at me after the last show.
The
She did she hate the last set I did as much?
She wasn't with my grandma, or she wasn't like obligated to like be
Did she like your set where you talk shit about her?
Yeah, actually.
She didn't mind it.
They were actually fine. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I like did not look at them. I like made a point not to look at them while I was doing it, but I listened to the audio back and I could like hear my dad laughing. And the only thing he really said was like, I know you cleaned up your set, which like, of course, I'm not going to like talk about who I fuck in front of my parents.
No, but you did talk about being bi and your parents saying that, basically implying that you weren't rich enough to be gay. And yeah.
I told that joke because
so
I like the
funny.
joke.
It's funny.
Yeah, so you were slightly critical of him. I was like, damn, I would never tell a joke like that about my mom in front of her. She would cry and get up and leave and make a huge scene.
The first time
I've said such wild shit
Yeah.
in front of my parents on stage before. Poor them. they did nothing but be nice to me. And
I actually feel like in a lot of ways, like comedy has kind of broken down or like made my relationship with my parents better because there's oftentimes things that I don't necessarily want to share with them or I would never say in front of them, but like they'll listen to the No Lie podcast and like there's no way that
Shit
I can
comes
necessarily
up.
Yeah.
Stuff comes up and I speak like I would to my friends or to anyone else except for my parents. So I feel like it's kind of broken down some walls in some ways.
I do think that like a big part of parental weirdness when you talk about like sex or whatever isn't that they like disapprove so much as they don't have a social blueprint for how they should react, and so it's just a very difficult interaction for everyone involved.
Oh no,
Like,
my parents disapprove.
well, I mean that too. I'm just saying that like even the disapproval isn't I think even most of the awkwardness. The awkwardness comes from the fact that like my mom listening to me say wild shit like does not even come close to bothering her as much as like it coming up in conversation with her, and then she's like, oh, like what do I want my son to think? What do I actually think?
Yeah.
You know, what do I want my friends to think? What kind of person do I want to be in all these people's eyes? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just more complicated.
I'm jumping way back, but when you were studying journalism, what was your vision for that? What did you think you were gonna like? What kind of stuff did you want to write?
Oh man.
I could see you as a news anchor.
Oh yeah, I could too.
Fuck, that actually,
Weird.
Yeah, you'd
for
be really
sure.
good.
Did you think about that?
No. My mom was always like, you should be studying broadcast journalism. And I was always very weird about it. I don't like pictures of myself, like, at all.
You're pretty and you have a
You'd
good
have to be a
voice.
sociopath.
Also, you
Thank
seem
you.
very talented and good at reporting.
Thanks, Mary Devon. No, I studied print journalism. What was I writing for the Freep? I had an internship where I worked for the Attleboro Sun-Times, and I wrote, because newspapers have no money, they had an unpaid intern who was in college, and she was their like state house correspondent, and that was me. So I wrote about Massachusetts state politics. Do you remember Scott Brown?
No.
Scott Brown. He won a Senate seat in Massachusetts, and it was the seat that Teddy Kennedy vacated when he died
Right, and he was like the
against
first
Martha
Republican
Coakley. Yeah.
to have like a seat in Massachusetts in forever. Right, that was like his deal.
So he was a state representative at the time when I was in college, and I like covered him and whatever, and he was a dick. Like, talk about like lifelong axe to grind, someone you hate, who just like, one day when I'm rich and powerful, I will have him murdered. Like, I think about Scott Brown every day. And I also like would buy a billboard with, he modeled in Cosmopolitan.
What?
Yeah, he was like one of those Cosmopolitan like hot dudes in like the 80s, and he has the total like naked bear like
That's so funny.
thing, and it just, I don't understand why people didn't buy billboards and put them up like the mass like
that
pike
would've
or
been
whatever
really smart,
during
yeah.
that campaign. So he's a terrible person. So I was writing about politics. And then like near the end, I was trying to write a lot of like, I guess they were really popular at the time. They're still popular right now. Like first person like think pieces, but this is just like about my life. I'll write like a memoir about being like a drunk slut, and it'll be so entertaining and like edgy and stuff, but like I'm smart.
That was everyone wanted to do that.
Yeah, that was
I used to-
2010
yeah.
and everyone's dream.
Everyone,
One day.
everyone was like, "Yes, Broad City's not here yet, and my life is interesting."
And now we just do stand up.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
we're following the
Oh
same thing.
God, yeah, that's what.
Yeah, there was hope, and then there was shame, and that's where stand-up comes in.
Just the same way that like the same. I guess when I tried to be a writer after college, when I was basically working for free, I was supposed to be being paid. I was writing for Noel Defender, this like horrible publication, and I ended up fucking the disgusting guy who had like rotten teeth who owned it. And then he fell in love with me, and then I
George
had to run
Washington?
away. Yes, Ben Mintz.
Wait, so this was after college that you tried to do this?
Yeah.
For how long?
I don't fuck him. I hate him
I'm sorry,
so much.
finish your story.
No, for a little over 2 years, and I became the deputy managing editor. But I was supposed to be on a salary, but he just like wouldn't pay me, and because we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And so I was supposed to be like getting money from. He would be like, go collect these checks, and they were people that had bought ads, and then all of them would just be like, oh, we just don't want this anymore, and he would be like, I have to talk to them, and I was like, okay, it was all a sham.
Also, the W editor is like not the person who's collecting advertising checks.
The whole thing was so fucked up. It was a fucking joke, and it was a shit show.
Yeah.
And I just remember like the number one thing when we were quote unquote hiring people who we weren't paying, which is how I that's how I got affiliated with it, was that I was looking for a part-time job and to do that. And then when I was like, I want to reduce my hours because I need to find a job, because I just graduated from college like a month ago. I was 23. And I was like, I need to find a part-time job. He's like, okay, well, I'll just pay you. And I don't think I realized that I wasn't a good writer. He just wanted to have sex with me and have me at his house all the time. But he paid me for a little while, and then I ended up sleeping with him, and eventually he stopped paying me, and then he also like ruined my life. It was so weird.
This is really gross, and I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. But he didn't have any money, and I will say that I know that because the office he lived in the office, and it was infested with rats, and it was an unfinished building with wires everywhere.
Is this publication still in circulation?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just gone. That's
It's
good.
gone. Yeah. I mean, the last thing they did after I left was they actually had the scoop about that kid diddler in Metairie. He was sending.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember him?
Uh-huh.
Mike Yenny, I think. He was sending pornographic text back and forth with a 17-year-old boy.
Oh, that guy,
He
yeah.
still has some position in
yes.
like Jefferson Parish.
Yes, he does.
Politics, yeah.
So it's very interesting. Apparently, you can send your dick to a child and still be the president of Metairie. I don't know how it works.
Well,
I want to take a bite of Michael's sandwich. Oh, he's
I
back.
want to smoke cigarettes.
You want to smoke a cigarette?
Yeah, can
Cig
we-
break? Okay.
Yeah.
It's tight.
Okay. And we're back. Mary Devon's earlobe is infected.
Yes, it is.
Oh, dude, I'm getting a fucking like a wisdom tooth.
Oh, wait. How
That's growing in?
Yeah.
did you go to the dentist, or you feel it yourself?
No, I was like, there's been something in the back of my mouth for a while, and I just thought like something was like kind of like swollen or like irritated, and I was like, then I like poked at it, and I was like, that's weird. Then I shined a light. Fucking, I'm still doing teeth. That's
Still getting teeth. Well, okay, I have good news and I have bad news. So I had a lot of pain for a while. My wisdom tooth only on one side.
yeah, it's just on one side.
It started to come in and I was in a lot of pain for like a year, and I finally went to the dentist again, and then she was like, yeah, it's coming in, but it probably won't break the gums that much. Because at first I thought I had a dead tooth, because I was like, I felt half a tooth, and I was like, shit, when did I lose this half of a tooth? And then she was like, no, you just never got the second half. But she was like, if it doesn't grow more in, you don't have to remove it, because I've never gotten mine removed. So maybe, because it was when I was 28. So that is interesting, because that's your age. And then it just stopped fucking with me.
You know, I think
I get
that
food
It doesn't
caught in
hurt
it.
that bad or anything. I was just like, fuck, man. I thought this was
Done.
Yeah.
No, that's why they get them removed. That's why they get them removed when you're young, because this is the age that they come in. It's like between, I think, like 24
I think I'm just gonna
and
ride
30.
it out.
No, I think about 28, I started feeling them for the first time. And I was like, fuck. And it got very irritated. And then I went to the dentist, and it was actually just food that got caught up there.
Yes.
And then they removed the food. And I was like, do I really want to have a whole surgery?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
I'll
I don't wanna-
floss
Once you
more.
learn how to brush it, like I just have to close my mouth when I brush my teeth and like gag myself by going way far back with the brush to get my like weird new tooth.
I do that too.
Yeah, but like
What do you do? Wait,
accidentally-
why is everyone?
I accidentally
why do
popped a
physical
pimple.
ailments.
How do you accidentally pop a pimple?
I scratched my face. It was
let me
bad.
see it.
No.
Let me
has
see it.
sucked.
No. Oh, it's a little flap.
I've never.
He has
I
a
don't
flap.
understand that.
I
wouldn't say
I've been
popped it. I might
bothered
have-
by that fucking pimple for like a week, so I'm glad it's gone.
Oh yeah, no, you cannot. You are not. You're forbidden. I broke.
Do you not pop your pimples at all?
I don't pop them. I mean, I don't really.
What about
get
your
'em.
blackheads?
Dude, fuck
What
you.
kind of
I'm
weird,
jealous because
like-
I'm obsessed with
I
my
like
blackheads.
popping fucking
too.
zits and shit so bad that sometimes I want them.
Same. I love when I get a good deep
Dude,
embedded blackhead.
I can't watch the like fucking those videos.
I don't watch those, and I don't enjoy it.
I enjoy
I
it.
probably like them more than I like anything else on earth, but I don't watch them because of that. Because if I go
You're just,
into
like,
it,
sitting and waiting.
no, then I'll watch like ow, and I
when
can't
someone
do
has
it.
when someone has extremely poppable blackheads, all I want to do is pop their
Oh,
blackheads.
yeah,
I
dude.
sit
It's
like
so
once
much
a
keep
week, and
getting-
I just like scrub blackheads.
Yeah,
I
off
keep
my
getting,
nose.
push
like-
on your nostrils.
Oh no, I'll like.
I do this.
Oh, dude,
Oh man.
if-
If you do, wait, I could do it. No, yeah, it'll gross y'all out. But if you
As long as you don't like
this,
hit me in the eye.
and then you all the white stuff that comes out of your nose, do you see it? No.
Oh no, I just like scan across my nose, and then I
Yeah.
take a washcloth and I like scrub, and it feels so good. And when I'm done, I'm like, I have the cleanest nose in the entire fucking world. I can't wait to leave right now and do it.
I love when I have blackheads underneath my chin line that are just like super deep and embedded, and they're like, there's so much oil in them. It's so satisfying. Sorry, I love blackheads.
you like
I
the
keep
pore
getting
strips?
haven't
targeted
done
ads
those.
for
What?
shit like that. Or
Not in
like,
years.
there's one that keeps coming up that's like it's all these people like plugging a vacuum into their face.
I would enjoy it. Yeah,
I know, I
would be
kind of
so
want it. And there's like
satisfying.
that, or like, look at this weird goo that you got to rip off.
yeah.
It's like an immediate like I feel cleaner and like a better person. Just like instant gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets the sin out.
Yeah. Oh, ingrown hairs too. Oh my god, I love ingrown
Yes.
hairs.
And then it pop and like you pop it and then the hair pops out like
Yes, yes. I love
Like a
that.
spring.
I have so I have like so many nipple hairs that I've been getting 2 hairs per follicle.
You get ingrown hairs on your nipples?
Yes. And I love it.
Are you sure you're just not just lactating?
No, I'm not lactating. I would know if there was milk coming out of my nipples.
All right.
I would notice that. I would have immediately come to the pod and been like, I'm lactating.
But would Jeff have noticed that?
Yeah. He loves to. Yeah. He would have been the cause.
He would have been like, yummy.
He would have been like, why? My nipples would have done that specifically because they were like, there's a baby sucking on it.
Anyway, I'm bleeding out of the face.
The head face.
Yeah, I had like
Let me
pretty.
see, it's not that bad anymore.
I had, like,
you
pretty-
got the bleeding.
I had pretty bad acne like when I was in high school and early college, and like I still have like hella pockmarks and shit, but I don't really get them anymore. Like I turned 30, that was my gift. Is like not getting them. But for whatever reason, this week I'm breaking out. I don't know what the fucking deal is.
I never.
Maybe it's the baby powder I've been putting on my balls. Maybe somehow it's getting in my face and clogging my pores.
What kind of baby powder do you put on your balls?
Johnson & Johnson, baby.
Oh, the baby, the good baby brand.
No more tears. Wait, that's not right. But yeah, I have been scrupulously Googling about like ovarian cancer because I don't want to give Susanna ovarian cancer because my balls are sweaty. And because there's like some link between talcum powder and
I did not know that. That stresses me out because when I was little I used to powder my whole body.
It's specifically
my
genital.
grandmother taught me to.
Genital powdering with baby powder.
When I was little,
one of my favorite things about this podcast is I feel like I get to learn things about the South that I never would.
I don't think it was normal.
My grandmother powdered my whole body.
Well, Shotzi, so I would watch my grandmother take baths, and then she would talk to me while I took a bath. I know it sounds creepy, but it wasn't creepy.
It's a way to make sure you didn't drown.
Right, but also I would just sit there and watch her bathe, and then she would sit there and watch me bathe, and then make sure I didn't use, because I used to make concoctions with shampoo and stuff.
Oh, that shit kicked ass.
So she would make sure I didn't do too much of that. But she was the one who taught me, like, I would go pow, 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 and like put powder on, but only at her house. And I had my own little powder thing with like the hand thing, and she had her own.
Oh, those are fun.
Yeah. And so, but I would put it on my, baby genitals and my baby butt and my baby armpits. So it's probably not great.
Smells so good.
It smells so good. It was the,
baby genitals.
Do you associate baby powder with like baby poop?
No, I don't. So I have 3 little sisters. So like I changed a lot of diapers and stuff. We never used baby powder. I guess maybe
I think my mom didn't either. I don't think our generation or the generation before did.
I think we got the memo that like it causes cancer or something. And then my family never used powder.
My grandmother only has 1 ovary, so maybe they're onto something with the whole talc connection. But she never got cancer. So
anyway, I just don't want to give Susanna cancer.
That's smart. That's good.
So I will shower before we have sex so that she doesn't get fucking baby powder crammed up her snatch.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe.
I didn't know it caused cancer.
You can't believe that she hasn't dumped me yet?
Yeah, dude, you suck.
Is that what you're like supposed to think about your partner though? Like, I admire them and love them so much that I cannot believe that they are with me.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a good, healthy relationship space to be in.
Yeah, but it's Benjamin who feels that way on my behalf.
I feel like all of my friends... I'm going to talk about Joy because I love to talk about Joy. Sorry.
Let's talk more about Joy. Joy's awesome, and Camille's very happy now.
Have I met Joy?
I thought you were about to say, and Camille doesn't deserve her.
No, y'all seem really good together. Camille's always worried that she's too drunk or slutty for Joy.
Not anymore. I've drastically reduced my drinking.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and sluttiness.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, you really cut that off at not the part that most people worry about.
I feel like I was going somewhere with... Oh, no. Like, Joy is a sweet baby angel. She doesn't like being called Baby Joy, but, like, everyone, once they know her, naturally just want to call her Baby Angel, Baby Joy. So, yeah, I feel like all of my friends are always like, don't fuck this up. I can't believe she is with you. And that's fine.
I think that people say that too much to Jeff about me, which sounds cocky, but people do it. Like, people are shitty to him about that. And I actually am the one who's lucky to be with Jeff. And I think everyone who actually knows me knows that. But I think that people are just really, really shitty. And people love to do it with... So Joy is less of an alcoholic and is like nicer than you.
Joy is not an alcoholic, for the record.
Yeah. No. And also, like, you're very funny, but like you and I are both mean. Like,
yeah,
I would say you and I
naturally have mean, bitter feelings.
Right, but you don't think Joy really does?
No, which is why it's so entertaining when she's like, when she doesn't like someone. It's my favorite time because that person actually deserves it, and just seeing her say something mean is like, whoa.
Right. Yeah. Anyway.
Susanna's like that. If I start talking shit, she's like, oh hell yes. Give it to me. It's so good.
Jeff loves it when I talk shit, but Jeff, like, whenever he talks shit, he's like, I gotta say, I just think he's like, maybe not a good guy. It's like, I mean, I didn't want to say it, but I think he might, I think he might not like women. I'm like, yeah, I know, he's a fucking idiot.
Like that feeling it took them like so many steps to like, get to that point.
I immediately meet someone and I'm like, well, he hates women. He's a rapist. And Jeff's like, he is? And I'm like, I can tell. I've said that about so many people privately to Jeff.
Right.
I would never ruin someone's life over an inkling, but I'm like, he has raped someone. And Jeff's like, okay, baby, sure. But I can tell.
I think I've stopped bleeding.
Yeah, you have. You stopped bleeding like 10
Yeah, but
minutes
you're
ago.
still
my
dabbing
problem
your face with the thing. It's
with being like
weird.
a mean
No, don't.
Wait, what were you saying, Camille?
I think my problem with being like a mean, bitter bitch is that I have a really long memory. So if there's like something that
Yes.
someone did to like
Dude.
cross me or something that I just didn't feel good about, I remember forever. And someone will be like, well, why don't you like them? I'm like, well, in 2003, like
Yeah.
Chris True, that shit came up. I was never involved with a new movement. I obviously like believe the victim and all that stuff. But in 2012, he came to Austin when Kate Mason was doing new movement stuff. And I lived in Austin, so I went to like go hang out with them. I went to their show, and the next day I was like, hey, we should go to this place for brunch. And Kate was like, Chris says this place is trash. And I was like, fuck you, Chris True. I'm from here. And I have never forgotten it. So when shit came out, I was like, yep, I hate him.
What
Yep.
place was it?
It was, I suggested going to Starseed, and he wanted to go to Spider House. Both places are like great. And
Yeah, but when people have a fucking opinion about saying
yeah. It's like, it's exactly like when I'm an asshole about New Orleans things. You could very easily be like, bitch, you've been here 4 years. I was in the wrong. And he was
Which
a
brings me
douchebag.
to my point of Camille.
I'm in the right about this.
Camille, a lot of people shit on transplants, and Camille likes, and I guess you're specifically talking about white transplants, but you like white transplants better than white people from New Orleans.
I feel like that was an unfair setup.
But well, that's what you've said before, but I think that there was more depth to it. But when we just had, before we started recording again after our SIG break, you were like, is it about how I don't like white transplants? So that's why I framed it that way. Or it's about how I don't like white people.
Not what it.
But it was about how you don't like white people from here.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to say it.
Yeah.
It's not like I love white transplants. I don't really like white people that much, as everyone
Yeah.
knows.
Right. But you specifically don't like white people who are from here.
Also, that last part about me not liking white people was a joke, and everyone just stood here. 3 white people just stared at me like very seriously around the
I know what you mean. But you and I both hate men.
It's not like we're like, oh, here's our token black guest. Like if she says she hates white people, we're just gonna.
I know
like
that
we
you-
also hate white people. That's like
Right.
Well, dude, I mean, like, there are some times when you have to sort of cater to whoever you're talking to and
Yeah.
assume that they don't know anything. But if there aren't the like cultural shorthands of like knowing what's a fucking like a black person who's with 3 of her white friends saying like I don't like white people, it's like, yeah, we know what that means.
Yeah,
like,
no.
it's not just us, but like
I think
there
I'm
are
just
so many
always
people who
concerned that-
don't get that shit.
Yeah.
Or like that they do get that shit and are disingenuous about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like there has to be shorthand where you can make fucking jokes.
I don't
You
like
can-
men.
You can say
Right,
things
exactly.
that you
That's what
don't
I meant
mean,
last
that you
episode.
kind
Right.
of mean. Like, I don't know.
No, I think I get it. And you can't really explain it fully to people who are like, well, I just don't like. And that's another thing I was saying about people being imperfect. A lot of my friends who actually have decent politics and are decent people and aren't racist, like, will get mad. Even women I know when someone says they hate men or someone says they hate white people because they're just like, they take it very, very literally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but then when I explain to them, I'm like, I think what they're saying is, then they're like, why don't they say that? Why do they say they hate blah, blah, blah? It's like, because it feels good to say something that's not 100% true because you're mad at like, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to, obviously I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about saying I hate men.
And like
Yeah.
overall, I don't know.
It just feels good.
like-
if you picked one at random, I'm sorry to interrupt. If you pick one at random, probably gonna suck. That's all I mean when I say that.
And
But
I
go on.
like a lot of people that suck, but yeah.
I mean, it just seems like a really long explanation to be like, I hate the power structures.
Exactly.
Centering like cis straight white men, and that
even
makes
though-
me feel this. Like, no, fuck that.
And even the people that I do like I love you, but like when y'all talk about things, I'm more critical of you because of like shared experience, which is why I think identity politics is important, even if it's weaponized sometimes. But like, I definitely think that like white men are allowed to fucking have opinions, and I think white women are allowed to have opinions, and I don't think that every single white man is wronger than every single white woman or whatever. It's not like that. It's just like on certain things, if you're speaking to an experience, I'm going to be more wary if you have not had that experience. And I think that but that doesn't mean that you're wrong.
And the fact that we have to put this disclaimer on that speaks to the larger fucking problem.
Right.
Which is, incredible, fragility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think fragility all across the board is a problem because everyone should be able to handle if no one's being overtly hateful and shitty. I mean, no one's Valerie Solanas-ing she was the lady that shot Andy Warhol. But even I could never tell. When we read that, I was like, this is great. And all the girls at LSU were like, I do not care for this text. They were just because we read the Scum Manifesto in an LSU Women Gender Studies class.
Yeah.
And Sarah Becker tried to kind of dumb it down. Sarah Becker was this really, really hot lady who was bisexual and was also a very good professor. I always start with the bad thing. But
what was
it's
the bad thing?
be
Be
sexy.
hot or bisexual?
I know, but
where
she
was the bad thing here?
but I guess
The thing that you should not highlight when you're talking about an intellectual.
All things I aspire to be.
Right.
the reductive thing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have sex with her, and I always thought it would happen, but it never did.
Don't give up on your dreams.
She's also friends with Margie. Anyway.
Who's running?
Yeah, I don't think she wants this tie-in.
You're right.
Yeah.
Bleep out where I said her name.
Okay.
But anyway.
Is that what you guys use for bleeps? You
I was
just
just
open
gonna
a
say,
White Claw?
I feel like we.
Anyway, but talk more about specifically. Unless it's
let me just explain what I was saying, and then will you tell me how you felt that you embarrassed yourself with me? Because that would be great.
Probably it was during. I wish I was really drunk, but I remember it was probably during this conversation when we first had it.
Okay.
Yeah.
My statement. I do not like white people from here. Mm-hmm. And I say that with the full understanding that I'm sitting next to two of them here. My experience in New Orleans, having only been here for 4 years of being a Black transplant, has been that the majority of white people from here feel like they have this pass because there's this proximity to Blackness.
Right.
And the whole, well, laissez-faire, do what you want to. We don't care about things in New Orleans. That gives them this excuse to do super problematic bullshit. Mm-hmm. And New Orleans is incredibly segregated. There are whole neighborhoods. I mean, Black people in New Orleans, I think, make up 60% of the entire city. But in terms of poverty and who has what, the numbers are fucked up and speak for themselves.
Right.
So you don't get any credit for just always having Black friends or being close to them when there's always been this incredibly fucked up power dynamic, socioeconomic dynamic in this city.
Yeah.
And I mean, just what was it 50, 60 years ago? Ruby Bridges, integrated the school. God, I sound stupid now. And
it's Akili now. Yeah. Well, the school.
Aquila.
Yeah.
Huh?
Aquila?
Akili.
Yeah.
Is the name of the school. Well, it's the same building. That's not what it was called back then.
But that was integrated not that long ago, practically within our parents' lifetimes. And you see pictures of the way that she was treated and know that was here.
Yeah.
And furthermore, they just remind me of white people where I'm from. I'm from Texas, and this is where it gets mean and awful. But it's just I find that a lot of white people from here have not traveled a lot or lived in other places, which I get. I want to live in New Orleans forever. I think this place is dope. Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot of outside experience. It feels like they oftentimes cart their 18-year-olds, no offense, Mary Devin, up 50 miles to Baton Rouge. They get a PhD in getting blackout drunk, and then they come back and inherit more wealth, and that's it. But they think they're woke and cool and good people.
Yeah, one of the interesting the getting a pass for proximity to Blackness is I had not heard it articulated that way, but it makes complete sense. The way that New Orleans is segregated is very checkerboard, where it's super white neighborhood, super black neighborhood, like by on a block by block basis or whatever. So you can have like a $3 million fucking mansion on St. Charles, and then 2 blocks away, it's like, yeah.
And that's done very intentionally, especially in very wealthy neighborhoods, because you want your help to live close to you. You want to make sure that they don't have transportation issues. So yeah, of course your maid and her entire fucking family live behind you one by one block.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. This is sort of an adjacent.
My parents did not like LSU. I just did not get good enough grades.
Mary Devin, I have always wanted to go against you in beefing because I just want to make fun of you going to LSU so much.
LSU ironically was like the only way I ever I'm grateful I went to LSU actually, because I didn't do a sorority and I didn't do football, and it was like actually really, really good.
You did Molly.
I did Molly, and I also met people that didn't go to private school in high school.
Dude, that was
It's an easy shorthand that's not accurate for me.
No,
to
well,
use
most of the people that go to LSU who are from New Orleans who went to private schools do like the sorority path, where like that's just another way to like get it's another way to solidify those connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the white sorority path is like a very specific path, and I'm glad I didn't do that. I would have failed. I would have like not gotten in one, which is like part of the reason I didn't do it. But like also it was good that I didn't, because I thought that like you can make a big state school what you make it.
Exactly. LSU is a huge place. There's a variety of experiences.
But the path that you're speaking to is extremely true.
Mm-hmm. What were you gonna say?
That was all I was saying.
Okay.
I think Ben was about to say something though.
This is not exactly the same conversation, but I think it's an adjacent conversation that gets like ignored a lot. And there's someone on Twitter who goes by Bay Guvera who's very good. And I'm pretty sure he's a black guy. But he had this thread that I was like, oh man, I wish I could have, I've had these thoughts, but I've never seen it said so well. He's talking about how gentrification is such a visible problem. It's so obvious because it's immediate. It's where people live. That's how you see structural racism and capital shifting. You see it directly in your neighborhoods. And the face of gentrification is especially in New Orleans, and it's happening in pretty much every major city in America right now, is a bunch of white people that aren't from there moving to a place and starting fucking cupcake places and, vegan, whatever. And then that's what gentrification looks like. That's the cultural narrative around gentrification, is it's these new young white people coming. And to an extent that is true. But it's also it's the rich people that are raising the housing prices. It's not the people who are coming in renting that are really causing any of it. But at the same time, those people come in with colonizing mindsets and then think that they fucking own the place.
Yeah.
And those two things are different. Who's actually making money off of it and then who's the face of it are not the same problem. They're
right.
Yeah.
And this is super simple, and stupid and silly, but Joy's sister, who hasn't lived in New Orleans for 10 or 15 years, she came, and I think she came to a comedy show at the Hi-Ho, and she saw an integrated audience, and I think it was a beefing or something. So people were making all sorts of jokes about white people, and she looked around and she was amazed. She was amazed, one, because St. Claude used to be a very, very black area, but also she was what kind of white people are these? This is not what I grew up with. She's from Harvey, the West Bank. Has never been, I guess,
a self-awareness.
Yeah, a self-awareness. And I'm not saying that white transplants are good in that way or better necessarily, but I distrust white people from here in a way that I distrust white people from Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of white people that I grew up with who, and this is when I both think that part of me gets defensive when I hear that, because I think that there are, specifically talking about white transplants, there's so many annoying white transplants.
Yeah.
That, even about not race stuff, that just have these dog shit opinions. the people that like have such strong opinions and they'll tell you how the street's actually pronounced and like the like all that shit. But like
It's motherfucking Dorgenois.
but always like of course it is correct to say that like the white people from here, the old money white people are the ones who are responsible for a lot of the racism in and of itself. But like,
Also, don't ever want to say like old money white people. I feel like it's more accurate when it's kind of like broader. Like white people from here have benefited from this system.
yeah.
Obviously, like
I mean, I think that like there are a lot of like, I think there are a lot of white people from New Orleans who like haven't benefited that much from, but I guess those people have been pushed out. Like there were a lot of people who were pushed out after Katrina, and I had a lot of guilt about that because like there was a clear line of like who had more money, who was able to come back. Most of my friends were white. Not all of them were white, but most of them were, and all my black friends were at least gone for a couple years after Katrina. But like, I do think that like the amount of money that your family has does contribute directly to But I mean, I'm sure that but also when you say from here, I mean, a lot of like when white flight happened, that's like when people moved to Metairie and shit. So if you're counting New Orleans as like the greater New Orleans area, then there's certainly, I would say like the people that are like white people from the Irish Channel who didn't leave the Irish Channel, who were like working class, are probably going to be less problematic than people who like are,
have you met white working class people?
Yeah. But like in New Orleans, there are a lot of people who like specifically stayed, like the people that left after the people who were not super rich, who didn't leave,
Who didn't have the opportunity to leave.
right? Like I don't know, a lot of the ones I know are like not very
Capitalism
racist.
and white supremacy is set up to divide people. And it's been this way forever. So for example, during the antebellum South, there are poor white sharecroppers who are doing the same jobs that slaves are. But you create this system in white supremacy where it's like, well, you're better than them just because you're white. And you have to hang on to that. And then those people end up being the people who enforce these race lines, etc.
Yeah,
And
that's the whole Confederate
I'm not.
Army.
I'm not
Yeah.
fetishizing white working class people. I'm just saying that, like, in New Orleans specifically, people who have stayed and like claimed any sort of ownership of this culture are not stupid enough to. I'm not saying all, but like there are a lot of white people who are not stupid enough to claim some sort of New Orleans ownership who would like deign to be racist after like. I think that there's like a lot of transplants who are like, I don't know. You can keep going. I think that a lot of transplants like might not understand that what they're doing is racist, but like when they are claiming New Orleans culture, it is more offensive to me than someone who's from here because they're doing it like in this way that is actually changing it in a way that's negative and making it more like marketable and touristy and Airbnb friendly, and I don't know. I
feel like my mistake in my statement in some ways was kind of either pitting white transplants against white people who are from here, and obviously the statement is like white people are problematic. Beyond that, I guess I want to like double down in the like white working class people I don't give any extra like slack to, because I've never seen in my experience, like for example, Italians, when they like, you know this, but when Italians came here, they weren't deemed as white. Then suddenly they got their magic white card and they had to be on the front lines of racism. And I think it's the same for like white working class people in the city are often like Irish. The reason Yats sound like very similar to Northeastern people, in my understanding, is because it's the same like ethnic makeup. I think that the same thing happened here where they were giving white cards, so they got to treat black people in a way that was like, well, we're still better than you, even though we still have nothing.
So you're saying that even if the people of this generation aren't necessarily actively like perpetuating it, that their family still benefited from racism, even if they are white working class people. So in that sense,
I'm saying,
Because I'm thinking of like service industry people I know who are from here, who are like really into New Orleans culture and really anti-transplant, but also like very like they would wear the, you know, I'm thinking of like specific people who definitely understand their position as like someone who is part of a culture that was created by Black people, but also feeling a lot of pride about that culture. And I think that...
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily.
Yeah, no, I think... And I guess I'm thinking of specific people, which isn't fair because you're talking about like broadly.
I think New Orleans has a specific dynamic with the like archetype of white townie who doesn't ever fucking leave. Because like I think in so many cities like white people who just never leave the city that they're from end up kind of just taking on whatever the like larger cultural identity of that city is.
Yeah,
and
no one ever calls people from New Orleans townies, but go on. But I mean, I'm not correcting you. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, for real. And I think part of that is because like most cities don't really produce like that impressive of a culture. It's not something that's like exported. It's not something that people travel across the world from. Like it's not something that clearly like almost all of American culture can trace its roots to. But in New Orleans, like white people who are from here get the like privilege of being like, I'm from the coolest fucking city ever to exist. And it's like, yeah, in, you know, the whole history of that city is like hyper racist. I mean, there's also like some of like the coolest stories of like cross like race, you know, coalitions existing in New Orleans, but I don't think people are that attached to that. Or if they are, that's also like another excuse. Like it's another like easy little like touchstone to be like, no man, New Orleans had a black mayor.
Well, this happened, you know, like, and white people were cool with it, or like we worked together and did this.
If you're from like St. Paul and you never leave St. Paul, Minnesota, and you're a white person, it's like you end up kind of the same kind of white person you would be in, you know, had you been raised in New Orleans, where it's just like your world's very small, you like your fucking football team, like you work for your dad or your uncle's company, like it's just fucking townie shit. And it's townie shit in the way where it's like the whole country is fucking white supremacist, so you have a leg up. Even if you're working class, you have a leg up just in the fact that like even if, you know, you're less likely to go to jail if you do, you know, if you slip up or you get caught or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this whole conversation has been sort of dancing around the intersection between personal racism and structural racism, and like part of it is like when Camille was taking issue with like the old money distinction, and you were like no, like all of them, like I might cut this because I haven't really fully formulated it, and it may not make any sense, but like you were kind of touching on the connection between the two of them, which is like you get your card where you're part of the club now, and of course you're going to turn around and be like, you don't get to come in. It's like being a fucking doctor and you're like, get your license, and you're like, I'm glad the AMA is around, like 2 seconds before you're like, why do I have to take this test? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's like white supremacist capitalism has a role. Structural racism contributes directly to personal racism in this way, where you're just like you're in, and so now you're like the whiteness cop.
Yeah. I don't know if this connects directly.
Yeah, I'm going to cut whatever I just said. So
no. Don't cut any of this. This is all good.
Also, as the editor, you have the benefit of being like, I sound stupid.
Oh, believe me, that's why I don't let anyone else do anything. It's because I need to make sure that I come out sounding cool.
I feel like everyone that listens to this listens because we're stupid.
I agree.
I mean, I got the impression that was the entire point. Stupid people talking about not stupid things, which I enjoy because I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Right. It's fun to fuck up. Like there's a there's a overall cultural fear, and especially with like anyone who's like an artist or an entertainer or a writer, any sort of like public persona of like putting.
None of us are, but
What's that?
I mean, we're failed that at this point, or like, you know, unsuccessful that, but that's, you know, what we are. But like, people are so afraid to make mistakes because no one wants to get fucking canceled or
like
whatever.
Such a permanent record
And
now.
and then, but you don't want to give all of the like room for people making mistakes to the people that make the worst mistakes.
Yeah.
Because then that's how you get like fucking like Louis J. Gomez being like lauded,
Dude.
Because it's like, yeah, I just say whatever, and you know, I'm not afraid of the criticism.
This
And it's
is-
like, well, what if people that were thoughtful weren't afraid of the criticism?
The great disservice that like fucking the right appropriates a lot of ideas, and it, like talking about cancel culture, I'm always like clam up because I'm just like, oh, like Ben Shapiro or like whatever. but the great disservice that like cancel happy culture does is it like the fact that anyone is conflating like talking about Harvey Weinstein's crimes and like a sex pest in the same breath and within the same category, like the condensing those two ends of the spectrum into the same fucking noun is fucking insane. And like being a sex pest sucks, and don't fucking do it. But also like it minimizes it gives everyone this
the same
pass.
cover almost.
Yeah.
yeah, but what sucks is that like, and I'm sure there are some good sex pests out there, but like most people who are sex pests are just actual rapists.
No, I mean for sure, but like
Would you, I mean, whenever, and I've actually been on the opposite end of, I agree with you, and I've said just as much, but I'm thinking about people like, I hate Aziz Ansari. I hate his comedy so much that even thinking about him, this is a problematic opinion, but even
makes
thinking
you
about
hate brown people. I understand. Go on.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. But
This podcast is literally the podcast that you guys will all just like delete when you like quote unquote make it.
Yeah.
I won't. It's
Yeah.
fine.
I got a promotion I did not want at work, and they told me I just couldn't be racist. I was like, well, is it bad that I do dirty jokes? They were like, are they racist? And I was like, no. They were like, I think it's fine.
Is it bad that I say I take some sort of cannabis product first thing in the morning every day of my life? There you go.
Well, I'm never high at work.
Okay, I'll yeah.
Yeah.
I can also cut that.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I'm very strategic about being high. But
Good.
anyway,
Sorry, go on.
So
The very idea of
being
his
high at
comedy.
work sounds terrible, but the
I
very
agree.
idea of defending him in any way sucks because he definitely seems like a rapist. But I will say that that account did scare me because I was like, this was a salacious account published in something no one's heard about ever, and it did seem like that like gray rape area where it was like, man, it's so easy for me to hate him, but like if I had heard about this from someone I actually really, really respected and liked, would I have? Like, I just think that I should, like, everyone should have space to have a second to talk to someone without them being like, wow, you think rape is okay. Where like,
Well, it was like everyone. I feel like people really had to, like, I don't know, examine that. But with the like Mitski allegations,
oh yeah,
which were like, I mean, I guess I don't know completely, but
What were the Mitski? I'm not familiar.
apparently I've seen from other people who are very online that this is something that comes up every few years that like is not real. Like nothing's ever come of it, but someone every few years on Tumblr is like Mitski's was involved.
Who is
in.
Mitski?
She's a artist, a musician.
she's a rock star. She's cool as shit. She makes really great music. But yeah, so I guess the allegations were that when she was in high school, she there was like a young girl who was like sex trafficked into her like dorm room or something, and then that relationship continued. I was trying to piece this together because there like didn't seem to be much of a story there. But the point I'm trying to make, it doesn't seem like this is true. If I'm wrong, whoops, I fucked up pretty badly. But it doesn't seem like it's true. And there are so many people who are like, always believe the victim, which is a good thing to do. It's a it's an important practice.
You'll be right 99.9999% of the time.
It's meant to be a reversal of what we do right now.
Yeah,
Right.
But then like rubber hits the road when it's fucking Mitski and it's not
It's a
like
woman, right.
lame ass Aziz Ansari who does like shitty stand up.
Right.
My cousin sucks so bad.
Right. Well, like, I don't know. I got in a fight with Julie about this because I think that anyone who has had sex with anyone else, like, is a little bit afraid of getting Me Too'd. Like, I'm afraid of getting Me Too'd. I've had sex with a lot of girls who, like, hit on me, and so then I did what you do when a woman hits on you, which is start like making out with them and then eventually fingering them, and then I've been swatted away.
Wow, you're really good at this, maybe.
Yeah, so I've been swatted away by straight girls who were just like using me as a way to like do like, you know, be, and I like when you've been drinking with a friend. I mean, one of my friends who will never listen to this podcast, like,
Then is she really a friend?
you know, she's a better friend.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
she'll never listen to this podcast. She and I fooled around one night, and then she just like stopped me mid fool around, and we never discussed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't think any of my friends would ever ruin my life like that. But I'm like, what if I got like, what if it was someone else that I just like, I've never intentionally done anything creepy, and I've never been sober. That when like
Ever.
I've never been
sober.
None of these things happened when I was sober,
Right.
and there's never been an intention or a great scheme. Like, it was always in the moment where a sex thing was happening, and I was like, I guess this sex thing is happening, and the only thing you could accuse me of is like taking it to a level that would feel appropriate. But I don't think anyone's going to Me Too me, but I don't think that it's wrong that like I have that fear and that like I take it personally, because I'm just like, what if someone wanted to ruin my life and they just were like, this was, you know, rape, or like this wasn't consensual, or because I've like gone down on a friend before and had her swat me away after like 2 seconds, and I was like, well, this feels like rape.
Maybe you were just shitty at it.
I mean, she's very straight. Yes, I appreciate that, Camille. But I also think, like, I've been very good at it before. But I think that also, it's scary for anyone who's constantly afraid and paranoid. Like, it doesn't mean that you're a rapist if you're afraid. I don't know. Are y'all never afraid of getting Me Too'd?
Are you fucking kidding? Like, well, I mean, on the last episode, you said something about how, like, oh, you would invite people home and, like, tell them, like, oh, like, come over, and, like, they knew what that meant.
Right.
Like, I've had experiences where I thought that was what was being communicated to me, like, come home with me and have sex, and
Right.
I was wrong, and I'm like, oh, fuck, like, sorry, my bad. Like, I think that because sex is so pathologically talked about in our culture or whatever, like, people have wildly different ideas of what consent is, and people like a lot of people are socialized such that they can't say, like, let's have sex, so they're like,
Yeah.
hey, like, want to come check out my etchings or whatever.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so, I mean, it's like
But then
that,
some people just really want you to look at their etchings,
right. I mean, seriously. Yeah, some people,
especially the people you used to have sex with.
I'm just saying, like it. Of course, I think that the fear is overblown for most people, overblown for you for sure, overblown for me less so. Like, but like,
I've never had sex.
I don't know. I just think that, like, I guess obviously we were living in a culture where we didn't believe victims and we blame victims. And I'm reading about that now in the Franklin cover-up. Like, we used to, like, not believe kids that said they were sexually abused.
That still happens.
I know.
Yeah.
All the time. But,
Yeah.
like, we used to actively be like, they're lying for some reason, as if a fucking 8-year-old is going to know to, like, be like, to know what to say to even, you know what I'm saying? Like, if an 8-year-old says they're being sexually abused, they're obviously fucking being sexually abused. Like, and 99.9% of the time when someone says they've been sexually abused, they're telling the truth. But it is true and does suck that there is, I don't think that it is an impossibility that someone would ever, like,
Of course.
do that, like,
well, so here's the thing.
in a calculated way. Yeah.
I just want to say one quick thing, which is that, like, either way, there are going to be false positives. It's either going to be like false positive, you're like, everyone thinks you're a rapist when you're not a rapist, but like right now, way more people who have been raped are like false negatives.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's just like, nope, like thousands and thousands of people. Like, so it's. I mean, we were talking about Patrice O'Neal like several episodes ago, and like his thing, which whatever, like who knows, probably he fucked up horribly because whatever, doesn't matter. Point is, his thing was like, yeah, it's fine that I like went to jail because like a lot of people who fucking do it don't, and like it's better to have a false positive than like a false negative.
Wow, that's like a very
It's
big thing.
It's so intense. He
to
went
say.
to fucking jail.
Yeah.
And he's like, he says that he didn't do it, but that he understands why he went to jail.
As a bitter bitch, I would burn shit down. I would burn it down.
What do you mean? If you went to jail when you
For something that I didn't do?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like and also especially because
I also don't necessarily believe him.
there's a lot of dynamics.
yeah.
I know there's just a lot of dynamics that go into play, and like rape is like a really, I mean that we as white women have been saying we got raped by people that didn't rape us forever. I mean that's very true. So that's something that like gets left out of the believe all women conversation. And then there's other things that like get left out of it is like even if it's not like white woman accusing a black man, like there are other dynamics that are power dynamics that people can exploit where someone expects you to be the rapist, whether it's race or class or whatever. And so, and even if it is like, I just think that the problem is that we didn't listen to assault victims for so long, but the idea that like every single person needs to be, and obviously we see that we're not at this point because of like Brock Turner and like Brett Kavanaugh and all of these instances that we see. So we're not even at this point. So I'm not saying that I even need to give this pushback, but I think more socially than legally or like politically, I think socially we're at a point where if anyone says anything, then you immediately believe them. And I've seen it happen with like someone saying that they were abused. Like, I found out that the abuse was just a guy being an asshole. Like, so people are throwing around words, and I'm just saying that, like, we do need to ask a lot of questions when someone says something. I think if someone's saying that they're being that they've been raped, then they've been raped.
But
like, the general idea of abuse is getting thrown around a lot more recently. Like, and I think that it's a very hard line, but when it comes to like not allowing people in your community, you have to make sure that what the person is referring to was actually something that like makes someone unsafe. I don't know.
No, yeah, it's not easy, but I think that there's something there.
So I guess my question is, / what it sounds like to me in some ways is, oh, well, I'm afraid of being Me Too'd, or I feel like the line isn't clear enough, so now I want to like wave my hands and be like, slow down.
Not really like slow down, but like I think that the idea that I feel like you're not supposed to say this, but the idea that every single person that says that they were assaulted is not lying, and that's all that you need to know, I don't think that's correct.
Yeah, again, I think that just the number of people who are not lying and are saying it, like the benefit of listening to them vastly outweighs potentially.
I do. Well, I think there's a difference between like believe this person and take this person completely seriously. Like every time someone says something like that, it should be taken extremely seriously, and like it should never be met with like immediate skepticism and like pushback and victim blaming attitudes, and like you should consider the dynamics of this happens all the fucking time. Like of course, like almost it's such a hard thing to lie about. It's such a thing most people wouldn't take it seriously.
And I
just
think
take
that,
But it bothers me in general, like the idea that if you don't think something, I just don't like, and I'm not like I mean, I know I sound like a free speech asshole, but I don't like the idea that there's ever a time where you're not allowed to have a thought, or you're like, we were talking about like canceled. Like I've never encountered someone who was lying about being, like who I thought was lying about being raped. And I've never encountered someone who I thought, like whether it's like someone publicly, like any guy who's been like pushed out of, like who's, I think, like, fuck Louis C.K., I hate him. Like, fuck all the other ones. I just do think that, like, there is something scary, potentially, that could happen. That's all.
I guess I think that having these conversations where eventually there is going to be a false allegation that's like very, very, very public. And we're all, I mean, for example, the senator, the comedy senator, Al Franken. Yeah. I don't know if you guys, on Fresh Air, they were talking and like the way that it was reported and everything, like it may not necessarily have been what we all thought. Mm-hmm. But I think that like those conversations need to be had, and eventually I hope we will all work out what we think consent is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Also,
I think that we just need to be able to have those conversations.
Of him, like groping a
fuck Al
lady.
Franken. Yeah, no. I think that he definitely was a creep. And I think that there's no room for creeps, especially when it's like an all male dominated. Like, I think that I'm fine with ruining people's professional lives for this shit. But like, I think that because even if they've just been creepy, that's enough. I think that you shouldn't be creepy if you're a fucking senator. Like, I just think that we need to feel comfortable. I'm not really talking about so much about people going down for it, because everyone who's gone down for it seems like they should have, and they have never really actually gone down for it. Like, Stupid Aziz just released a shitty special.
Right. I mean, and everyone's like, oh, look, he reflected on it. Like, shut the fuck up.
You just gave him such a, like, Trump nickname. Stupid Aziz.
Stupid Aziz.
Yeah.
Shitty special.
Yeah.
But, like,
Assaulter Aziz.
Well, I mean, Trump's tweets are amazing, even though he's obviously a hot pile of garbage. But, like, the way that he trash talks.
Emphasis on the hot.
Yeah, so sexy. But, like, I hate Donald Trump so much, but it bothers me so much how much, like, we talk similarly shit. like the way we talk shit is just extremely similar, which is like incoherent and impulsive and badly executed, and just not thought out. Yeah,
but also cutting.
Yeah, sometimes.
I think the fact that the occasion for this conversation was the Mitski allegation is proof that like the
basically I don't believe that Mitski raped someone.
Well, I mean that's what I'm saying is like also, you know who else doesn't believe that? Fucking anyone.
Yeah.
Like no one fucking, like, she's not canceled. Like, we're talking about it as if she got canceled and like, oh no, like what if it's false? No, like no one fucking. What's that?
Oh, nothing. I was just thinking about how confused I am about who Mitski is.
So
I'm just gonna Google the person.
Yeah.
You listen to Mitski. You should kick ass.
How do you spell Mitski?
Mitski.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
No, you're good.
But like, I mean, like, almost instantaneously, that person was the person with the allegations. Like, people had screenshots from their Tumblr about psychotic breaks that they had because they took too much DXM and thought they were sex trafficked. Like, you know, there's a strong parallel between like their own self-reported psychotic breaks and what they were saying right now. So like, I just think that, like, I mean, back to my earlier point, like, it's the conflation. Like, the Aziz shit pisses me off. It's like he clearly was not responding to cues and like was being extremely shitty.
Yeah.
But the idea. And this is something that reactionaries love to say, and I'm gonna fucking say it. Like, the idea that he and Weinstein are in the same category,
right,
is fucking insane.
And that pisses
Weinstein
people off.
Fucking monster.
I definitely think that I get why that pisses people off when people say that, because it's just like, oh, so every guy has to be as bad as Harvey Weinstein in order for us to complain about his behavior. And I think that the Aziz behavior was extremely bad. Mm-hmm. I also just think that publication was so fucking predatory with that woman they interviewed. Yeah. Like, it was done so badly. And I just think that, like, he definitely was a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. He was a huge asshole. And, like, I would probably feel traumatized by that experience.
Absolutely.
And that's all that matters. Like, fuck Aziz. And he clearly learned nothing from it. I do think that experience, though, was comebackfromable. Does that make any sense? Yes. Like, if he was a worthwhile comedian.
I mean, it depends on, but yeah.
If he was, like, a worthwhile comedian that, like, had something to say, but he didn't, even if he wasn't a worthwhile comedian, he didn't address it. He just was, like, a total dick about it.
He just wore a t-shirt on his next special.
Right. But, like, if he actually, like, put thought into it and was just, like, you know, thought about basically how to talk about it in a way that was funny, it would have taken years probably. But the same thing people said about Louis is, like, there are ways that he could have come back from that were, like, not becoming a free speech dork. Mm-hmm. And I guess my whole
speech dork.
Well, that's I didn't make that term up, but, like,
the reason I don't think so with Louis or whatever. I know I've said this to you guys in like conversation before. I'm not sure if I've said it on the podcast, but like the actual thing he did was fucking awful. And also that article where like it finally like came out after it had been an open secret for years. He sort of cheers, bless you. He admitted that like he thought like something else had come out too, where he like pushed someone in a bathroom. Like so clearly like this guy's like a piece of shit, and he was like doing horrible things to women, and he had like, you know, the professional like power over these women that was like really fucked up. It was all really bad. But then like the level it got to with the cover up of it is like psychotic. With like him and Dave Becky.
Right.
And like there's no way he's not implicated in that, of like trying to ruin these people's lives.
Yeah.
And like you don't get to apologize for something you tried to cover up.
No, I agree.
That like
He should have come out. He should have come out and just been like, not that he should have ever done it in the first place, but if it was a real misunderstanding, then he would have gotten ahead of it. Like, I think if he was not getting off on the actual lack of consent, I definitely think he was getting off on the lack of consent, and it was not a misunderstanding. Whereas I think that Aziz just doesn't think that women are people, and so he thinks that and it did seem like from that account that woman wanted to be on a date. And, like, Aziz was like, no, you're fucking me because I'm famous. And so he kept on treating her like dog shit. And she kept on being like, I'm going to hang out because maybe he'll eventually treat me like we're on a date. And, like, he has no excuse. He should have just been like, leave. You know what I mean? He should have been like, I want to. Or she should have been like, I'm just saying people are allowed to only want to have terrible sex with someone. But, like, you cannot let someone stay when you know that they like love you and you're getting off on that like,
manipulation.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Like he should have just been like, I'm sorry, this is not what I was expecting. Like, but I guess that's another thing is like, I think it's okay to not want to be on a date with someone, but you just shouldn't then fuck them if they thought that they were on a date with you and then have terrible sex with them. And yeah, it was a hard article to read. And I've had sex like that and it wasn't fun. And a part of it is like, part of it is like, I don't think that was rape. And I do think that like you hold, I don't know, if you have to go back and look at every sexual encounter that you've had that was like subpar and think about whether or not you were raped, it's not fun.
I feel like I think about that more than I think about ever being Me Too'd myself. Like, I think that I look back and I'm like, oh shit, I was drunk. I don't know if I necessarily like gave consent. I think about that often. Yeah. And like where that line is.
Yeah, I think about that, but most of the time I feel like when I do think that I've mostly been drunk in situations where it was like a mutual drunkenness. I've had bad sex, but I feel like I was rarely the lone drunk one. The only sexual power dynamics I've ever personally dealt with were like beyond one specific sexual experience where I felt like it was abusive, but I'm just lucky in that way. And then also, well, there were a few when I was a child, but not like a child, but like a teenager. But I think that the getting Me Too'd thing is just me being extremely honest with myself more than it's a real fear for me. Like I try to like go to like the worst parts of my brain and confront them. And I was talking to Julie, and Julie was like, from our conversation, she was like, you're worried about getting Me Too'd. And I never really thought about that. I think it's more that I'm worried about having to confront someone that I love, like getting accused of something and being in a position where I have to believe the victim or I am also a bad, you know what I'm saying? Like someone that you, like imagining someone that's not famous that you love, like the idea, here's the crux. I found the crux. The idea that I would be a hater of women or like a victim blamer if it was difficult for me to envision someone that I know and love being a rapist, like it's just natural for you to not want to believe that, and it's natural for you to want more information. I don't think that means that you hate women or that you are like a part of the oppression of women. I think that it's okay for us to hold space to like believe in people's characters. And then like I think that that's part of being close to someone is that you don't think that they can do stuff like that, even if like you believe victims in every other circumstance. Like, can you really imagine if someone accused, I'm trying to think of like someone who's, I don't know. If someone accused a man that you were really, really close to of rape, like a family member that you actually liked or something like that was like a close family member, wouldn't you take a second to like want to believe that they were wrong? Or would you immediately... I just think the idea that like immediately believing women is the only option in all situations is like, sure, that's what we should all do. But there are situations in which it'll be hard. Like, it's not an easy thing to...
Well, I think the reality of it is that, like, it is hard because in a rape culture, there are going to be people that you're close to who have either crossed explicit lines or have crossed gray lines, or like we live in a culture of gray lines.
Yeah,
it's fucked up. And those are people we're close to. You can't only put this in a world of where it's only these powerful men who do these things, or only these like horrible, depraved men who do these things, which is its own other like kind of like fucked up thing. It's people that you're close to, and like the important thing is to be realistic about all of it. And it's completely unrealistic to say that good men are incapable of this, or like who you consider good men are incapable of this. So like living in a world where it's like someone that I love, who I know goes through life in a way that I admire for the most part, could make a horrible, traumatizing mistake. Not just a mistake, like that's like even like using that language is like you're entering in a world where you're like already like forgiving someone because you love them, and like that's okay too. You can forgive someone for something and hold them accountable at the same time. And like culturally, that's where we need.
I don't
to
think
get.
that's our cultural narrative around it at all.
Of course not.
I think it's like very jaily,
and it's one of those things where it's like for so long, like there's just been no accountability and like a complete disbelief of victims, and specifically women and like children and like the most vulnerable people. And I think even like the like representing like the Me Too movement as like a shift in the other direction is like, it's true in a certain like pocket of discourse that like some people pay a lot of attention to, but really, culturally, it's not a fucking swing in the other direction. It's like a little step in the other direction. But like it does make sense that there's just going to be a hard swing where it's like completely the opposite of how culture was dealing with this before is how culture should deal with it. And like there has to be some adjustment to like, the nuance, and it's hard. And you don't want to like discount anyone in it, but I think the important thing is just to know that like you have to acknowledge how fucked up everything has been and then deal with it from there, but not in an unrealistic way.
The thing that you said about like it's not impossible that like good men do this shit. Like there's to me a real link between like conceptually between like structural racism and rape culture, where it's like this is structural and ideological. Rape culture is also structural and ideological, and like as long as we paint all sex pests as monsters, like until we stop doing that, the structural component and the ideological component will not get addressed. It's just like people will get like thrown away in the trash, and we're not going to fucking change anything about how we raise children. We're not going to right.
You can't get rid of all of the racists and then society's fine. You can't get rid of all the bad men and then society's fine. You have to
something
deal
is
with
producing them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing where like you will create people who do the most racist, the most rape things in the entire world, but just not want to be called a rapist or a sex pest, or whatever term we come up with it. They're more afraid of being labeled that way than they are of the actual act.
Totally.
I completely agree with you, Michael.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, about how like a lot of people don't even realize that they have done anything like that. Like, and how sometimes like the way someone's affected by something doesn't match the intention of the person who did it.
Like the fact that anyone can like come of age sexually without knowing that like some people who have trauma, their response to being triggered is to freeze up.
Right.
Like the fact that like anyone can be raised like silence is consent. Like if they're not vocally objecting, it's like that millions of boys are produced who think that silence is consent and who think that and who have no idea about like how trauma works. And that's fucking insane, and it's going to keep happening until that's just like one little prong of it.
That's why people are obsessed with the song Baby It's Cold Outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is actually a song about the sexual mores of a different time.
Well, I mean, but they're connected for sure.
Yeah, because the rape culture was how you communicated sexually.
Right.
But yeah, that woman in the song is not. It's.
I'm horny as shit.
Yeah, that's what the song is about. But I think that like finally the discourse on that horrible stupid song that everyone loves to talk about has come around to at least include that.
Every time, every December.
Christmas.
Isn't it what you most look forward to about the holidays?
The Baby It's Cold Outside.
Yeah. when you're like shopping at the mall and the discourse about Baby It's Cold Outside comes on and you're like, ooh, it reminds me of hot chocolate.
Ooh, it's the season.
I don't even like that.
They're just reading tweets about fucking Baby It's Cold Outside at Target.
Yeah. We've been recording for about 300 or 400 years. And are you trying to get to Hi-Ho?
No.
Oh, you're also free. I think none of you were trying to go.
Are you trying to go?
Not anymore.
Yeah, sorry. You could have. Yeah.
No, it's okay. This has been better.
I would go if I didn't have a bunch of laundry that I did at your house. Thank you for letting me do laundry.
Why don't you just bring it to Hi-Ho and fold it?
No.
Okay. All right.
It's a bad idea.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
No live
you could just put it in
podcast for
Jeff's
sure.
car.
Huh?
You could put your laundry in Jeff's car if you want to go to Hi-Ho. Sorry.
We'll figure it out. This is no lie podcast.
No lie.
Right.
What else do you want to plug?
Yeah, all things No Lie Comedy. You can follow us on social media at No Lie, Lie spelled with an L-Y-E, comedy on Facebook, Instagram, the website. We produce monthly shows and a weekly open mic that's starting in September.
When? Where?
Saturday. It's going to sign up at 2, show at 3 p.m. It's going to be an afternoon mic. We're going to encourage clean comedy, and it's going to be all ages. So we're trying out something new.
Where is it?
Whoa,
It's
for the
going to be
kids.
the Art Club.
Wait.
Art Club in the Bywater, so not too far. You are. I'm so excited that you're
so
excited.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Goodbye.
Peace.